I'm the nostalgia critic. I remember it, so you don't have to. My world and all that I have ever known and loved and thought sane and rational has been torn asunder by the pestilential existence of one subhumanly foul Russian-born madman known as Milan Jeftik. All is lost for me, dear viewer. May God have mercy on my poor wayward soul, for I am lost. Dear God, I am so lost. All my attempts to expunge this monstrous, cancerous sect off the face of the earth have proven in vain. He cannot be destroyed or forgotten, for God only knows I have tried. Oh God, have I tried! I've decided to give up my vendetta. I'm assuming you're me from the future?
Yes?
What are you doing here?
It depends on what you were about to do.
I was going to announce to the world my intention to finally give up on my vendetta against Milan. I did nearly cause a nuclear robotic apocalypse last time.
Yes, I know that, but I'm from a possible future. A future in which you give up attempting to exact your vengeance. You see, you don't realize it now, but thoughts of revenge are the only thing that's keeping you going. If you truly give up, everything else in your life will become even worse. Food will no longer taste as sweet. The very essence of your life drains away from you, and you become a hollow shell of a man whose beard will not stay on!
What would you have me do? I've sent every kind of assassin crazy enough to take the job after him, and nothing has worked.
Well, if you want something done right, you should do it yourself.
I've tried that, and that's how this whole mess got started.
You weren't ready for him then. Now you can go in prepared.
The revenge must go on. The revenge must go on. The bastards live to run the more his mad song about doing horrible things to me. The revenge must go on. The revenge must go on.
Stick your dick in my brain, will you? I'm gonna do to you what I promised to do to everyone who has ever made an awful movie. Finally did it. I finally killed him. That bastard's gone. I'm free.
time has come once again to discuss things.
So has Bill told you
Okay.
about me?
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Geeky Gentlemen. As you'll notice, it's on my other channel, probably because of YouTube bullshit. There's a video about it. I'm not going to go into it. I'm trying to stay in a positive mood, which, believe me, is taking quite a bit of effort tonight. In any case, welcome to the show, a special guest, Mr. Dylan McCandles, aka Super DM 64. Say hello.
Hello.
It's very, very underwhelming. You kind of sounded like you were surprised that you were on the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
This should be like a monumentous occasion for him, and he's just all like, "Nah, it's whatever."
Yeah.
I'm on a channel that I've never been on, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been on my channel before, so that's.
I have with the Dragon Ball Z videos.
Yeah. And I think are you the guy with the head of Optimus Prime? I think you're on one of my channels. Like, I draw Dark Side, and we talk with Deadpoolzilla.
I think I remember this. It's not Optimus Prime though; it's Soundwave. But yeah.
That's right. It's a robot.
I actually want to put together like some sort of logo or something, but I haven't thought of anything yet. But
See, Milan Dillon also does art, like little flash animation art. It's really fun.
Really? I'll check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, he does all the title cards for Demons from Outer Space and
Neat.
SOS.
I love that fucking show, dude. Like Demons from Outer Space, you and Bill. You guys like has Bill told you about me? Has he warned you?
I mean,
Milan, watch the show.
I mean, yeah, I used to listen to Geeky Gentlemen pretty regularly, so I'm aware of you.
Oh, that's good to know. I apologize ahead of schedule.
Anyway, Dylan, would you please tell the audience what we're discussing today?
We are discussing several episodes of the Nostalgia Critic.
Indeed, and we're not going to focus just on those episodes. Those are like kind of our anchor points. We're going to talk about him like on the whole, since we're all reasonably fans, I guess you could say, of the Nostalgia Critic. You can pull references from whatever the fuck episode you want. I just wanted to pick those so we had like a nice range of things to keep going back to, as opposed to just jumping all over the guy's fucking career. So, what we're reviewing in the particular are 2 episodes from each era, if you will, of the Nostalgia Critic. We're starting out with very early stuff with his Batman and Robin and his Space Jam review. Then we're going for kind of like the middle of his era stuff, and I define middle by not early stuff, but before the return of the Nostalgia Critic.
I think both of the ones that we chose are like from 2011.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
these middle era kind of thing.
You know what's funny? You know what's hilarious? Is that we're reviewers reviewing a reviewer, and that's for some reason that is like the essence of our being. That is the coalescence of our first Geeky Gentleman creation. For we spun out of that whole who reviews the reviewers with Geek Evolution.
I mean, to be fair, I don't really review things. I just sort of talk bullshit on the internet. But yeah.
Me too. Wondrous.
No, but so for the middle of the road stuff, we're doing Moulin Rouge and The Secret of Nim 2. And then for the return of the Nostalgia Critic, we're doing The Cat in the Hat and Turbo, a Power Rangers movie.
He has like the black guy there, right?
Yeah.
I like the black guy. He's fun.
Okay then. So I'm not really sure where to start. Do we want to just give like general thoughts, or let's go ahead and do this. How did you first get into the Nostalgia Critic? We'll go round robin, and since Dylan is the guest this week, we'll talk to him first.
I don't exactly remember which of his videos was the first one I saw, but I just happened upon him completely by chance. Found one of his reviews on YouTube, watched it, thought the guy was funny. Watched a bunch more of his stuff, and that's pretty much it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really hear any hype about him beforehand either. I just sort of stumbled upon him.
Okay. How about you, Milan?
I got the internets. There you go. That's all explaining. That's all I have.
No, like, how did you... Do you remember, like, how you first came across him, or, like, how you first got into it and all that stuff?
I don't know. You just... If you're a geek, and you have... If you like geeky things from your past, he just comes up. It's like... he's a weird thing, you know? Like, people like that, like the... I actually started out with the Angry Video Game Nerd. And from the very beginning, and he was the beginning of the death of the modern, like the old school idea of the celebrity. Like, now we have e-celebrities, internet celebrities, quote unquote. People that are not like as big or as wealthy as like celebrities, but they're just like, hey, I'm gonna talk about things. And oh, that's amazing. It's like, you know that time in school where you're like you're just gotten out of high school and you're like,
okay, this has gone on too long already.
I don't know. It's just like Nostalgia Critic.
So, like, you found him, you, like, stumbled onto him from watching stuff with the Angry Video Game Nerd and looking up, you know, videos about nostalgic stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that.
For me, it was a process, actually, to get into the Nostalgia Critic, because if I'm remembering correctly, the very first video of his I ever saw, and I'd actually talked to Bill about this several times, was his old versus new of Batman 89 and The Dark Knight, wherein he said completely seriously that Batman 89 is the better film.
Yep.
I really like his old versus new segment. I wish he would bring that back. There are several more films that I would love to see him do that with.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that's all well and good, but honestly, you know, that was the first thing I watched, and that was when I was super big into, you know, Dark Knight fandom. That was just after, like, a year or so after the movie had come out. Mm-hmm. Joker Blogs was going strong at that point, and that's how I really got into the whole YouTube scene. So I watched that, and I was just like, this guy's a fucking idiot. And then I didn't watch any of his videos for a long time, but they kept, like, popping up and, you know, oh, you watch this, so you would like this. And eventually I just started watching some of his other stuff and came around on him and just decided that he was an idiot in that one video, and everything else was reasonably genius.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. It's weird because there's this thing, like, is it still considered, like, he's built his career on shit that he used to watch as a kid. Like, it's really one of those things that, like, everyone wanted to be a creator but during the 90s. Like, we are a generation built on the idea that you can be a storyteller, you can be a creator, you can make movies if you work hard enough. And so everyone went to film school, or they got interested in art or geeky shit. And yet, like, thanks to YouTube, you have all these students, all these young people with essentially, this is the greatest idea sharing message board ever. Everyone can be a celebrity. Everyone can make a video, and just, you know, I think the Nostalgia Critic wouldn't be as famous as he is without YouTube, without this whole, you know, flowering of just people not having enough money to move out of their parents' house, or just having to have,
yeah. I see what you're saying there, and it's this interesting thing because he got out of YouTube when you still could.
Yeah.
And, you know, keep an audience. Like, he went over to Blip when you could still keep an audience, because any time after that, like, he left YouTube originally because they kept hitting him with copyright bullshit, even though it was reviews. He left YouTube and moved over to Blip and started ThatGuyWithGlasses.com and all that stuff, from what I understand. I don't know the, you know, exact history, but this is what I've gleaned from just what I've heard him talk about briefly here and there. He went over to Blip and, you know, took a bunch of other reviewers who were frustrated with YouTube with him, and certainly new people pop up on that website, but no one's going to be as popular as him again. And the case in point with that is why we had the return of the Nostalgia Critic. Because, like, I think I was talking to someone once, and they were telling me that the numbers for that website dropped exponentially when he tried to take the series away.
Yeah, because he did that, what was it called, a demo reel. He did that for a while. And I watched demo reel, and I thought it was fairly good. But yeah,
what the hell was demo reel anyway? What was that anyway? I've never watched it.
It's this web series that he did after he quit being the nostalgia critic, but before he brought it back, it was like
I-
him and the black guy and the chick that were there after they came back from the reboot. They were like part of a production company in the show. This was like completely fictional as opposed to what he usually does. In the show, they were like part of a production company that like made like rip-offs of movies, and then hijinks would ensue. But it was actually I enjoyed the series myself, but as Ian was saying, the ratings dropped. Dramatic.
Yeah.
And not just for him, like everywhere on the website, the ratings just plummeted. Which is crazy when you think about how big of a magnet he is for that community. And like I was saying, you can't leave YouTube now. And I mean, this is maybe just my recent experiences with the copyright law getting more and more frustrating as the years go on. But you can't leave YouTube doing what we as reviewers or whatever you would like to call yourselves do anymore. I mean, there's no outlet for that. I mean, you have to have a large following already, and in the attempt to leave YouTube, you have to be willing to split with probably half of that following, if not more.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's this whole idea of garnering viewers, gardening, and everyone's a fucking movie producer now. But instead of movies or television, it's just the internet, and it's just so amazing to see. Like, I've known people that have just sprung up out of nowhere in the past months or a year or so, and just garnered thousands of views because they managed to get a latch on to the new audience, like the younger kids, the younger dorks that are like, "Hey, fucking that Ninja Turtle show from the 2003, that was awesome." Like those kids. And it's just like, it's so weird because I understand you can't do reviews anymore, and that's why I make motion comics now, because I just like, hey,
how long do you think it's gonna be? I mean, if Captain Logan is getting flagged on videos for fucking still images in Superhero Rewind, how long do you think it's gonna be before DC starts flagging your ass for throwing their entire comic book up on a website?
Well, basically, I think DC, like, Warner Brothers gives a fuck because it's movies, and they give more a fuck about movies. These are comic books. Like, they could not give less of a fuck about their comic book branch of the company. And so they're like, fucking comic nerds, whatever. And besides, at the end of every video, I say, hey, go to Comixology, buy it in your local comic book store. It's a fan-made
like
thing.
That fucking matters. I'm just saying, like, it's the website has become hostile to its not only its viewers but its creators, and I don't think that it can thrive like that for very long. I just think that, they say fuck the creators. We're gonna pander to these companies because we'd rather be one of them. Someone desperately needs to get hired at YouTube that is like a creator advocate.
Yeah.
YouTube needs that. We need an ambassador.
Yeah.
It needs to be someone that's actually popular on YouTube but rose up from the very bottom. I know that not many people are fans of him, but he is a good person from what I can tell. Shane Dawson would be pretty good at that job. That being said, it's a completely other thing. Anyway, what I was just talking about is, Doug Walker got out of YouTube when it was still possible to do. But that's almost outside of his whole thing entirely, except for the power of the nostalgia critic character, if you will, and his place in internet reviewdom. But I wanted to just talk more about the way in which he writes the character, the way in which he criticizes things, that kind of stuff, how he approaches a review, that kind of stuff. Dylan, you've been quiet. Take us on another branch of this conversation.
Well, you were just talking about how he approaches things. One of the interesting things about rewatching these particular reviews that we're going to be talking about today, I rewatched them all today because I wanted to be as fresh as possible for this video. There really is a progression from how he started to how he ends up. In the early days, he's basically a human Looney Tune who talks about what's happening on screen. Mm-hmm. And then he retains that, but then he adds in all these new other things. Like when we get to the Moulin Rouge review, you start seeing the all the cameos from the other producers from Channel Awesome, because by that point he had built up this huge community. Like you start getting like continuity things, and by the time the reboot comes around, now you have entire sketches that take up the entirety of the review. And he's always had this thing where he's to be honest, more of an entertainer than like a serious reviewer.
Mm-hmm.
But that has sort of taken over his entire, like, his shtick has outgrown, like, it's not really about the review anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, well, the thing is with that is how long do you have to be an adult? Well, you grow up as a young man in college, whatever. As you go through college and you get out, like how long can like a serious review about the Care Bears movies gonna entertain you? I mean, people watched his stuff because it was funny, and like I guess he just, as a person with a lot more resources, he kind of changed up his routine a little bit. Hey, I got all these people. Let's try to make our own content instead of just like, hey, this is a stupid scene from a movie. Sure, that's fun. That is still there in the general fabric of his, skit show type of a thing. And that's great, and I love the Nostalgia Critic, but it's like he's feeling the creator's pinch. Like, you can't make as many jokes about this one thing, for as long as you can. Like, you gotta have something of your own thing. You want to write scenarios. You want to write, quote-unquote, story structures. And I guess the review, he kind of, instead of focusing, actually being... I don't think he was an actual, like, genuine reviewer. Like, well, he was, but, like, that's such a weird thing. Like, no one's a genuine reviewer. No one's...
Yeah, I think he's always been a very genuine reviewer. I mean, he always makes a point in the videos. It always comes at the end of the video before he makes any kind of serious point. Otherwise, he just points out that's stupid, that doesn't make any sense, that's dumb, this is a bad message. He'll point that out throughout the review when he's basically doing, like a sporadic commentary, kind of the way CinemaSins does. I mean... Side note of criticism, CinemaSins basically just does what Nostalgia Critic does, just less, like, outlandishly funny, which is why they probably had a brief crossover earlier. Anyway, like, he would always make points throughout the review, but then at the end of the review, he would try to make his, grand point about whatever it was. Like, he started out the Space Jam review, and that's one of his earliest videos from what I can tell. And he's making a couple, like, quick points. He makes some jokes about how some of the stuff he thinks is stupid. Side note, I actually really like Space Jam still. And then at the end he makes a point of, like, this was completely superfluous. This was an attempt to just make money, and anyone that doesn't see that is just blinded by nostalgia, which is what I think the character was originally intended to be, and then it just became something else. And then when you get to, like, the Cat in the Hat review, you got something that he's really passionate about, and he tries to make a really impassioned, like, very artistic point. To the point where, like, you could almost see an actual movie being made of that scenario.
Yeah. He's a creator. And, like, that's the thing. Being a creator, you can't riff on somebody else's work for so long. Afterwards, you want to make your own stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree.
And I'm totally fine with the inclusion of more sketchy, type material. I know it. I think some fans, from what I've heard, actually got a little turned off when he started going to that style. But I think it makes sense. I think it's a natural progression. And the important the important thing about the Nostalgia Critic from the early stage to now, which is what Ian was just sort of going on a little bit about, is that he's funny and he's outlandish, but he also manages to slip a message in there somewhere, and he's still doing that.
Definitely.
So
he's a great guy. I love Doug.
It's always interesting though when you watch him actually reviewing something that you yourself are connected to. Like, it's one thing when I see Nostalgia Critic review, like, Care Bears. Like, I have no nostalgia connection to Care Bears personally, so it's just like, oh yeah, that's stupid, But then, like, when he does, like, well, Ian was just talking about Space Jam. I have a nostalgic connection to Space Jam. So it's
like, no, this isn't true. Shut up.
It's a completely different viewing experience.
Definitely.
Yeah. I definitely agree. It is just this, like, Space Jam and like I was talking about earlier with the old versus new of Batman and the Dark Knight, I'm just like, no, man, you're just so unbelievably wrong.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the benefit of being an e-reviewer. You can actually have your own opinion heard. You're not governed by, like, the man upstairs. That's the glory of being on YouTube. Whatever the fuck you want to make, whatever opinion you want to say, like, if you're willing to deal with the bitchiness of the fanboys straight on, or at least ignore them or whatever, that's whatever. You can do whatever the fuck you want, and I respect him for that. He has an actual opinion. And sure, it's on superfluous, like, kids fare that you used to watch as a kid, and that's wonderful. And that's lovely. It's like, hey, he's doing what he wants to do, and, you know, hopefully I wish him nothing but serious success in the future. Wonderful guy.
See, I don't know how, like, just speaking about Dark Knight and the old versus new episode that we didn't watch for this, but whatever, I'm going to talk about it. There's that whole, like, he makes this whole point about how it's just more enjoyable a film and how, you know, the conversations in Dark Knight are the conversations the critics should be having, not the characters, and just a lot of really weird points. To the point where he's very much stretching to try to get to some place where he can even kind of say that Batman is a better movie. And then, like, a couple months ago, he did an Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland review, and you see footage from his old room where he's got, like, a Tim Burton shrine, and there's, like, this whole section of it devoted to Batman 89. I'm like, oh. See, here's the problem, is he is honestly susceptible to what his entire character was created to do.
Yeah.
Which is dismiss the nostalgia and just look at the thing in and of itself. So, like, you know, he's got all this nostalgia for Batman 89 to the point where he's got blinders when it comes to that movie.
Well, yeah, he's a dork. That's what being a nerd is all about. And, like, that's wonderful. Like, he's a fucking...
No, I'm not saying it's like...
And I love
I'm
that.
not saying
yeah.
do that. I'm just saying, like, you know, when it comes to his ability to review, there is a certain level of inability to be objective about certain things that he's extremely nostalgic for.
I suppose so, but still, like, I don't really like to rag people on that. It's like, it's like, at that point, like, you're really holding yourself, you're really taking this that seriously. And it's like, not to say, don't take it seriously in a dismissive kind of way. I love it. Like, I'm not trying to talk down to the guy. I'm saying that it's like, if you don't realize this is all just a bit of fun, you know, have some fun. What's the point of watching the Nostalgia Critic if you can't admit, like, yeah, he's not like the most impartial guy. He's a guy on the internet making videos. And
no, I get that, but at the same time, like, there should be some objectivity to his reviews. If he's, like, trying to just compare and contrast things, then it's a little weird that he's letting himself slip into his character a little too much there.
Well, you know.
I think maybe when he wrote the old versus new segments, maybe he just didn't even think of it that way. Maybe he just approached it from a less objective standpoint. Because his personal opinions do seem to enter more into those segments. The Batman versus Dark Knight one is also one that I take a little bit of exception to. I think probably the best one he did that I saw was probably the one he did for True Grit. I think, like, that was pretty objective.
Oh, definitely. I guess
that's just one that jumps out to me. Like, you know, to criticize his ability to criticize. Like, I think he's got a hard-on for Batman 89, and
who
I
doesn't?
mean, I know there are Batman 89 fans listening to this, and I don't hate that movie like some people claim to, but, you know, there's a certain level where if you're going to say one is the better movie, you got to, like, have some level of objectivity when it comes to Dark Knight. Come on now.
I think it's just the particular taste in filmmaking. I think what's I've noticed is a lot of more, like, grand philosophizing in most of these. The people who tend to like The Dark Knight kind of like grand philosophizing. I think it's kind of like, not that there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a difference between the guys who like the dialogue movies and the guys that like the purely visual storytelling movies, you know. And I think, like, you could see a definite change of that in the 90s to the 80s, and he seems more like he seems a bit older than us. He seems like he's 30 now, isn't he?
I have no idea.
Anyway, but, like, he seems like he's grew up more in the 80s timeline, where it was more just like action, adventure, like movie, visual storytelling. I think he's definitely a person who knows shit about movies, and I like that. But I guess his personal taste just kind of bent him towards, you know, the more campy aspects of the original Batman, because Batman, regardless, you know, as much leather you put on him, he's still a campy character, and that's why you gotta love him.
Well, like, to get this back to the episodes we did watch for this, you watch his review of Batman and Robin, and when he talks about, you know, the progression of the Batman movies of that era, He shows a lot of reverence for Batman 89, and then when he talks about the problems of Batman Returns, he uses a lot of like key phrases. One of them being some people didn't like the overly dark storytelling, and the ending's really bittersweet, and like he uses all these kind of, I want to call them excuses in the summation of Batman Returns and why it didn't perform very well, but he definitely like is somewhat apologetic for it, and you can tell he's just got like a real love for those movies. And I don't have anything against anyone having love for those movies, but if you can't tell me that Batman and Robin is sometimes just as silly, or wait, no, my bad, let me rephrase this. If you can't tell me that Batman Returns is sometimes just as silly as Batman and Robin, then come on.
I mean,
there are penguins with rockets on their backs that are going to destroy the city.
That's amazing.
I mean, there's the whole cat thing that they invented for Selena Kyle, where she falls out of the building and then they nibble on her, and all of a sudden she has superpowers. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nibble, ladies and gentlemen, like to get superpowers, fall from a great height, land in an alley, and have animals gnaw on you. And whatever animal that gnaws on you happens to be, you will garner the superpowered elements of that animal. So just make sure it's not rats. If rats start gnawing at you in an alley, if you fall from a great height, or homeless people. If homeless people start gnawing, and you'll become like super.
Gain the powers of the homeless.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but it's not just like plot elements. Like everyone makes fun of plot elements, but there's a lot of like really silly stuff. Like fucking Christopher Walken's in that movie, and there's a character that's Christopher Walken's character's son, and the actor they get for that, like he only has a couple lines, but listen to them closely. The dude's doing like a really bad Christopher Walken impression.
But I guess that kind of devolves into who's your Batman. I mean, it's not really an objective thing at that point. Well, of course, it's Batman. Everyone's got their own,
Yeah, I'll give you that. And I'm not criticizing him for liking Tim Burton's Batman. I'm criticizing him for not being able to acknowledge that he just happens to like that version more. Like I don't think he'll admit that. I think he'll try to intellectualize it.
He'll admit that.
No, I think he'll admit that he likes it, but I don't think he'll admit that he likes it just because he likes it. He tries to intellectualize it and tries to give, quote unquote objective reasons why Tim Burton's is the better Batman. And in the end, it's all from a very subjective viewpoint.
Well, it's like at what point do you cross the line from just explaining why you like something to intellectualizing? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's an interesting, it's a fine line, I think. How it's something that any reviewer, I think, should be wary of. Is that
certainly.
Anytime you're going to try and describe why you like something, you run the risk of doing what you're saying that he's doing.
Certainly. I'm not going to get away from... I don't want to get too much into, reviewing in general, but that's certainly a problem. Where I think he falls into this hole is he can't admit at all that what he likes about it is entirely personal. He tries to give his personal views as intellectualized, views. And that's where one thing I think is very problematic. Not only about, his views on Batman, but I'm kind of using that as an example for a lot of the stuff he does in reviews.
If you're going to give your personal opinion, you need to be careful to make sure people understand that this is just your personal opinion.
Yeah, and I don't think he does that. I think he addresses it like this is, an objective, arguable fact. And certainly he gives good arguments, but, Dark Knight vs. Batman. There's no contest, guys.
Ian is so obsessed about this one. He's like, I disagree with the nostalgia critic, and so I shall form this entire video about that one thing.
Well, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just that's where I came from with the nostalgia critic, though. That was the very first thing of his I saw, and I think it forever shaped my opinions upon him. Even though I've come around on him, like I said, I've come around and I've really learned to enjoy the show aspect of it and take into consideration the points he makes. but at the same time, those points to me, I always take with a bit of a grain of salt now.
Yep. Yep. That was a sentence. That was a sentence.
Having said that, I completely agree with him on the subject of Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss.
Totally.
Completely. Yes, Dr. Seuss is a subject that needs to be it's so wonderful. I really like these more at first when I first saw he was doing that kind of sincere thing. Like, anything sincere and done from the heart and honest, in my opinion, is just a shine of gold. And the fact that he surrounds that nugget of gold with some actual sugary outer coating, and I'm like, that's wonderful. Like, I like his more modern reviews when you see what he actually thinks, and he actually does it in a jokey way. And it's like, I dig that. I like him both as a character and as a person. Like, and it's just. Mm-hmm. It kind of in those points, the character and Doug Walker himself kind of it's kind of like a poetic thing. I'm trying to be very highbrowdy, but it's like the character and the creator It's like that Grant Morrison moment, you know, in Animal
Man.
It's just trying to. It's the genuine thought of the person.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I do want to get to his more modern stuff, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about, because I think we covered, general thoughts on the Nostalgia Critic by this point, or at least we covered, his greatest flaw, I would guess, and his inability to be objective. So let's go ahead and talk for just a minute just about the two early reviews of Space Jam and Batman and Robin, because we talked about, how they differ so much from his new stuff, but, what about them just on their own did you happen to enjoy?
They're just funny.
Yeah, I mean, the early stuff really is pretty much just about being funny. I feel like the Space Jam review, if I'm not mistaken, he did that one first out of the two. The Space Jam review feels a lot more experimental to me. Like, it feels like that was early and he was still figuring out exactly what he was doing. But by the time he gets to the Batman and Robin review, I feel like he's really got his shit together. And it's no surprise that that's the review that kind of really took off for him early on in his career. You know, people would run up to him at conventions and yell "bad credit card" at him.
Rape my childhood, will you?
That bit is still hilarious, by the way.
I fucking love that line. Rape my childhood, will you?
And that's the thing. Yeah. He doesn't even try to act calm that time. Like, he keeps coming back from his rant and, trying to act calm for a second and then ranting again. But then on that one, he just goes right back into it.
Oh, dude, I love that. Like, when he, say what you will, but the Nostalgia Critic can fucking rant. Like, as a mentally disturbed individual myself, I just gotta give him the slow clap.
He seems to have a very good sense of comedic timing.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's the thing. He's a genuine comedic talent, and yet he's not in the stand-up comedy scene or on the TV scene. He's kind of, guys like him have kind of grooved their own place in the world, in the whole, transcommunication medium. It's like he's made his own little groove, and he's making his own, and that's fascinating. People who make money off the internet and become, internet celebrities, people might say they got the stink of sad motherfucker on them. I disagree completely. Well, not my words, but it's I respect that because they're making their own way. People might see that as it's just the internet. Sure, but that's what people said about the fucking the television. It's fucking television. Radio is where is that, motherfucker. But now it's people I can't wait till the internet gets corporatized. It'll be
no, it's awful.
I know it's gonna.
We already have advertisements every time you click on a web page, so I think it's pretty corporate.
Unless you're smart enough to download Firefox and get real ad block.
That's funny. The internet is actually it's like the Wild West. My good friend Bandit Incorporated says the internet landscape is like the Wild West. Sure,
he's not the only one that says that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm attributing.
Pretty sure I heard Obama say that the other day.
Oh, Obama! What Obama says doesn't matter. He was born in Kenya. Anyway, you're a fucking idiot if you believe that. But essentially, it's just I'm fascinated by this whole internet celebrity thing. Like it's the Wild West. That's like you can do whatever. Yeah,
I got you.
but it's fascinating because once that whole doomed information, like doomed future, like the cyberpunk movie will happen. The dark cyberpunk movie future will happen, except it will be with internet people clicking away. Instead of laser guns, you'll get code.
Come on. Seriously.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be great. I failed.
You're not talking about the nostalgia critic, though. You keep going back to internet celebrities. I'm like, okay.
But he is one.
He is one, but we're not talking about any internet celebrity on the whole.
Why? They're why not? They're pop culture characters, not humans.
Thank you. No, but back to the Batman and Robin review. Like Space Jam, there isn't much to say. I agree. It's 11 minutes long, and he's wrong the entire time. He makes some really good points, particularly that Michael Jordan can't really act.
Yeah, having said that, I have a nostalgic connection to Space Jam. It's not one that I can really defend objectively.
That's true. Like
funny movies.
That point was hilarious because like that actually haunted him for years because like all the fucking furries got mad at him and started commenting and shit.
Oh my god, the furries! You fucking people are amazing. Kudos, you fucking loonies.
The fact that he didn't even address furries in the video too makes me feel like that whole incident might have been his first introduction to the furry phenomenon.
Yeah, but like it's little stuff like that. Like you can tell where like he's at the point now where what was it? Cat in the Hat review opened with the little My Little Pony bit, and he shoots at things like, you're not turning this into a brony message board. So now he's like really aware of internet culture, but you look back at like, the bunny boobies point he makes, and you have an idea that he didn't even know that fucking that thing existed. And like if pulling kind of from the rafters here, but if you ever watch like one of the announcement video or whatever you want to call it that he did in order to recruit the nostalgia chick, because like there was this whole fucking contest thing they had. When he did the announcement to get them to like find someone to be the nostalgia chick, he like specifically says, "Now we don't want any guys or any guys in drag or any transgender people. It's the internet, so I can't believe it, but I have to say this. We want a woman." Like it's just stuff like that he became slowly aware of internet culture and just how fucking weird everybody is.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like, hey, I used to have to pay a nickel to go see a guy with a beard. Now it's just like you see one everywhere on the internet. It's like, hey, dude with a beard, you're awesome. You're fucking awesome, dude.
Like you mean a gal with a beard or a guy with a beard in a dress?
That's amazing. I love those dudes. Yeah. They're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Love myself some transsexuals.
No, it's just like it's really funny, like how evolved he has become in internet culture, how accustomed he's become to it. And I mean, it's a really sad state of affairs that he's gotten to that point, because I don't think anyone should have to, but it happened.
It happened to me. I know what all that shit is, and it's terrifying.
I mean, look at you. I wouldn't exactly call you the picture of mental health, Milan.
Oh, shut up. I'm the perfect picture of mental health, good sir. And I will not take those type of words set against my good and becomely character.
Okay, anyway.
That's right.
No, but like I was saying, the Space Jam review, it's only a couple minutes long, and he makes some points in it that's I'm not going to try to argue against, because I am trying to be somewhat objective here. But at the same time, it's just hard to watch something when like you really enjoy or you do have that nostalgia to a thing that he's reviewing, especially when he rips it apart.
Exactly.
Because then you're just like, no!
Dude, on the internet, you're gonna get your childhood raped. It's an eventual growing pain of being raised in the information age.
Well, like, we did that episode where when we first did the Nostalgia Critic bit for the opening sketch, we did that episode on nostalgia, and I still do hold to this. I think nostalgia is dead and the internet killed it because you can't have fond memories, or you can't just have fond memories of things anymore. Now you can always find those things that you watched when you were a kid. You know, like, you look back at 60s and 70s television, you know, I'm watching Star Trek, the original series right now. I watched some Hulk. I couldn't quite get through all of that. And it was incredibly episodic because it was made to be seen, you know, once every so often. Like, they didn't expect people to binge watch every single episode back to back, or they didn't even expect people to watch every single episode every week. So they made it just, you know, a very basic story a lot. And so you can go back and watch that stuff now, and it's paced very differently.
Yeah, back then people had lives. You see.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think the
it's
phenomenon you're speaking about actually started with like the invention of like home video, because before that you couldn't see a movie unless they brought it back, and then people had the ability to go back and watch things and see how they hold up. But now that we have the internet and anybody can find anything because the pirates are everywhere,
fucking pirates, I love ya.
it's just it's accelerated to the point where I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't just have fond memories anymore. Like, you can see it and you go, oh my god, this is really bad. My case in point for this is if anyone's watched Street Sharks.
Street Sharks.
That is fucking terrible. I had so much nostalgia for that. I had all the toys when I was a kid, and then I watched, it was on Netflix for a brief period of time. Might still be, I don't know. And then I watched Street Sharks, and I was like, oh my god, this is so bad. It's like everything that was not good about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
You know what's interesting? It's people say, "Oh, my nostalgia is dead," but the thing is, it's this kind of cultural implosion. You know, we can see, like, you can show your kid, like, Hulk, like the old '70s Hulk, and like Ben 10 or something, and it's just like, the stuff that your parents watch and your grandparents watched, you can watch it now, because we have a very similar thing here in Russian culture. You see, in Russia, we did not have the same level of, you know, pop culture as you Westerners did. And so we have a very, very few, you know, type of cartoons that everyone has watched. Every single generation since the 60s have watched these cartoons, watched these movies. They've become classic. Our pop culture is so small that more people know about it. You know, more Russian people, you can make a reference like, "No pогоди!" Like a Russian person, like, regardless of where he is, has just squealed with pleasure. I just literally referenced the Russian Looney Tunes. Or the Russian Tom and Jerry. Between a wolf and a rabbit. Yeah.
I was about to ask what that was a reference to. Just out of curiosity.
It's just between a rabbit and a wolf. It's Russian. There are no words. It's all visual comedy, so you can just watch it on YouTube. It's fine. You can. We'll link it. But essentially,
I'm not going to link it.
Oh, that's too bad. But just
I don't want to do work.
Okay, fine. But essentially, like, everyone, our pop culture is so small that, like, we can make the same references to our grandparents, Russian grandparents, and they can understand it. Like, they've watched the
like
same.
Everyone remembers Comrade Bear.
Exactly. Like exactly. It's those. Everything is like that. But in American culture, you have a refresh of culture every generation. You have a new thing. But now everyone can watch the old and the new. It's this. Nothing is like, oh, that's old shit. I can look at old shit, and you can show that to a kid, and it's just one giant cultural implosion. There is no time anymore. Culturally-wise, there's no separation between that decade and this one. It's all just one, and that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's something that he's capitalized on very much so, because like you couldn't do something like this. Even in the 90s, you couldn't do something like this. You couldn't have reviewed, 70s shows and everything in that way, because no one would watch it, because the only people that could watch it would be, like, you'd have to do it on public access television, so it'd have to be people that are a fan of that thing had to stumble onto whatever you're doing at fucking God knows what hour of the night.
Yeah. You know, it's fascinating. You have like these old fandoms. You get the Star Trek is the most well known, and then like with scary movies and horror movies, they have a big fandom. And these fandoms, these very small, it was like kind of a niche thing, but now every tiny little fucking thing has a fandom. I can name you anything. Name the most obscure fucking thing, and there's a fandom about it. There's some group of people...
That conquers the Martians?
Exactly. There's like... The internet has allowed
I would like to
as
consider
many...
myself... I would like to consider myself part of the fandom for Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Exactly. Me too.
Based on the title alone, really.
Dude, that is the quality of movie in Russia. That is the quality of movie in Russia. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's like y'all Citizen Kane or something.
No, that's the kids' movies I grew up with in Russia. Oh, you should see some of the Russian movies. Like a dude's head turns into a bear.
Is that the title of the movie?
Wait, isn't that Prince Vladimir?
You motherfucker! I love you. No, that was a different thing. But yeah,
okay,
basically, yeah. Go ahead.
Let's get back to just the nostalgia critic. We keep getting off, and like we haven't talked nearly enough just about him. So like, is there anything else to say about Space Jam or his Batman and Robin reviews? Anything like you guys want to throw out? Because I'm about spent on those two.
For that, it's just like with those, it's just like it's funny because he's reviewing. It's just good.
Okay, Dylan?
I'm not sure how to follow that. No, I don't really have anything else specifically to say about those reviews.
Okay.
But I will say that I think the Batman and Robin review holds up phenomenally well. I hadn't watched
it really does.
I hadn't watched it in a while before today, and I was laughing a lot harder than I thought I would, given that I already knew all the jokes ahead of time.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go on to some of the middle era stuff. I think I want to talk about Moulin Rouge first, and there's a story behind why I ended up picking that. No, I'm not a fan of Moulin Rouge.
I never seen... Moulin Rouge looks amazing. It's just like, Baz Luhrmann, say what you will, but that motherfucker is a visual director, and I love him for it.
I highly recommend watching it on mute, and you can just get the soundtrack.
Or just get really, really high.
Well, you know, the nostalgia critic made a very good point about the cinematography in the review. Somebody said, well, you can't deny that the cinematography is fantastic. And his response is, yeah, when you can see it.
Yeah, like, here's the thing about, here's my story behind why I picked the Moulin Rouge review. So Haley is a big fan of musicals, and she ended up buying Moulin Rouge on Blu-ray when a local movie store was closing down. Suncoast was closing its doors here. And she got a, Blu-ray of Moulin Rouge, and she was like, can we watch it together? I'm like, yeah, sure, fuck it, whatever. Because, I got background in theater. I don't mind watching a musical. And, oh my god, it's like 2.5 hours of the most painful fucking experience. Like, don't get me wrong, the fucking musical bits are awesome and so much fun to watch, and, like, the, colors and everything are beautiful and amazing, but, god, the story is so painful. And it moves like at breakneck speeds. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. It's just craziness after craziness. And like the movie because you've watched his review of it by this point. But so like I had no real enjoyment for the movie except for just the basics. The visuals were fun. The ideas of how to mix the songs together was pretty clever too. But then I watched the review. And, like, it has, it how much he dislikes the movie. There's so much love for the movie. Because, like, he talked about the film before about how he was really disappointed by it because he was looking forward to it when the trailers and stuff were coming out, and then it just ended up being just so incoherent. And you just see, like, everything that he expected from it and how it let it down and how just completely problematic that film is. And, like, you see the bit of Nicole Kidman doing, like, her crazy, sexy dance or whatever the hell that's supposed to be. And it just pops on screen with Oscar-nominated performance. There's just all this stuff in that review that actually makes me like the movie so much more than I did originally.
Well, that's the benefits of camp. I mean, campiness is one of those things. It's a sour fruit that slowly matures in your brain into something actually well remembered.
And I think part of it is the way he presents it in the review itself. The review itself is not like one of his early reviews where he's just sitting down and going through the plot, bit by bit and explaining what's stupid about it. If the review was like that...
There's some showmanship to it now. It's like he's actually doing a skit. It's like something really big.
It's got like musical numbers and shit.
This was the point in his career where he starts doing this sort of more sketchy type stuff. Not doing it all the time like he does now, but just doing it a little here and there. And what winds up happening is the review itself and like the presentation of it becomes a microcosm of what the movie he's talking about is. And there's all these cameos from all the other channel awesome people. I think my favorite one, even though it's the shortest one, is the one from what's his name, Brad Jones.
Wait, which one was that?
He's the Cinema Snob. He pops up for like 2 seconds during their song about guilty pleasures because Nostalgia Critic actually mentions Paranoia, which is a movie that Brad Jones himself made, and like when he mentions that as a guilty pleasure, Brad Jones just pops up on screen for 2 seconds and goes, "What the hell?"
I didn't get that joke. I'm not a Cinema Snob fan, so that one didn't occur to me.
Who's the Cinema Snob? Is he the man with the intolerable voice? Yes, I'm the Cinema Snob. Is that the guy you're talking about?
I don't know. I haven't watched any of his stuff just because it's like the most like... he is... Like, I get the sense that the name is a joke, but I cannot bring myself to watch it.
The concept behind the show is that you have this character, which is completely a character because Brad Jones, the person, is so far removed from what the Cinema Snob is, even more so than Doug is with Nostalgia Critic. You have this character who is, as the name suggests, a Cinema Snob, this character who's very snobby about film and like has all these like highbrow opinions of what film should be, but like he reviews like Z-grade, like a lot of it's porn. Oh my God. He reviews this awful, like, shot-on shitio stuff, and so that's sort of the basis or the idea behind the show is that you take somebody with like that mentality about movies and then have them review shit.
That's funny. I might have to check out some of this stuff. Dylan, do me a favor, and after we're done, send me a couple links to the best of Cinema Snob.
Yeah, me too as well. I want to check that out as well.
He also makes a bunch of like really obscure pop culture references, many of which you will not get.
Okay. Anyway, but back to the review itself. I love the performance that he gives in that. Like, best part of Moulin Rouge is the Roxanne song. Best part of the Moulin Rouge review is the Roxanne song. Roxanne. Sorry. I promise not to sing anymore.
How dare you?
Except that I am lying.
Oh, Ian, you and I should have a duet. Have a duet. Have a duet. Let's do it. You and I, we're reviewing things on the internet. You and I. Come on.
When Ian asked me to come on Geeky Gentlemen, this is not what I thought I was signing up for.
Well, see, we're trying to adapt the show to the whole sketch comedy kind of review stuff.
Yeah, but we're doing
that's something that would never work because fucking Milan is Milan. We'd be filming bits at his house, and his dad would just fucking walk in the room and start beating him.
He tries to do that so often right now, and he can't because he's very elderly.
To be fair, that might be funny in its own special way.
In that special sad kind of way. No, you guys are right. He does it I think the Moulin Rouge episode by far is in no way like the first time he did it, but it's it is really the blueprint for what the show became, wouldn't you say?
Well, an example to look at, they did I think it was last year. Yeah, that matches up, I think, with when the movie came out. They did a Les Miserables review, which is in many ways a sequel to this review because it's also a musical review, and they bring back the guy that was with him in this review, whose name I can never remember.
Rain Floss or something was what he was kept calling him.
Yeah, that guy. They bring him back in that review, and it's sort of like a sequel type idea. You get the feeling watching it because it's in very much the same style. And so everything from the after the Moulin Rouge review on sort of draws on that. Like, he didn't start doing sketch all the time, like I mentioned, he would do it here and there, but like now it's sort of the whole show, and the song from the end of this review became his theme song.
Yeah, I thought that was like, I didn't realize that when I was picking it, but I thought that made it kind of an incredibly poignant pick for middle of career stuff.
Yeah. Because
I suppose we should have started out the middle of his career section by talking about Secret of Nim too, but whatever. No, because like it is like almost the birth of that next era of the Nostalgia Critic, though, isn't it?
Of course.
If you skip the birth of that next era of the Nostalgia Critic,
I mean, well, the whole Nostalgia Critic character builds to this grand finale in the third anniversary movie, To Boldly Flee, and after that point he's like, I couldn't possibly bring the character back, and then the fans demanded it, and he was forced to do so anyway. And so I think he took that as a
Why was he forced to do so? What do you mean he was?
Because like his viewership, like we talked about it, everybody stopped going to the site. Not only stopped watching like Doug Walker reviews, but stopped watching site traffic wide.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't do anything else with his life either. He's pretty dependent on the internet for sustenance. So
what do you think about that? What do you guys think about that whole concept of just doing this as a career?
No, talk about it. God damn. Pick it as a topic in another video. Stop trying to hijack my topic.
Fine, fine.
But yeah, he was pretty much forced to come back because he wasn't going to make any money. The viewership was dropping. People didn't respond well to Demo Reel, even though, as I said, I enjoyed it. So he was really sort of forced to come back. And so he took the license, I think, to take the entire series more in this sort of skit direction. And that's the only change he made. He also made the decision that he was no longer just going to do nostalgic things. He does current stuff now. Which he was going to have to do eventually, anyway, because at some point you're just going to run out of nostalgia to criticize.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's obviously a request list, but, how fast can you burn through that if you're doing, bi-weekly videos? You can probably do that in a couple of years. Like 2-3 years at the most, I imagine. So yeah, eventually you do have to do newer stuff, and one of the newer things that he did that I quite enjoyed was his Man of Steel review with Angry Joe. That was really good.
Yeah, I agree.
He's one of those people that doesn't like Man of Steel, but I was really impressed with like his analysis of that movie in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I agree.
Yeah, but the Moulin Rouge review, like I said, it gave me a certain respect or enjoyment of that movie that I didn't have before watching his review of it, which I think is one of the best things you can do as a reviewer. It's really hard to take something that, a person doesn't like and have them watch a review of that thing and have them leave not necessarily enjoying it, but having a different view of it.
Yeah, it's rare that you can actually alter somebody else's opinion, even in such a minuscule way of taking them from hating something to,
at least appreciating.
Seeing the merit, I guess you could say. That's sort of a rare thing. Generally speaking, people watch these internet reviews, and at the end of the day, they're either going to agree or disagree with what the person said.
Well, like what a lot of people, I feel, do is they watch the internet reviews just so that they can have an argument for why they don't like this thing. Like, they'll just adopt someone else's argument. And to be fair, I do that too. I just kind of, take a conglomerate of things. Like, if I watch something and I'm not quite sure if I have a fully formed opinion of it yet, I'll watch someone's review to see what they think and see if I agree or disagree with that. Then I'll watch someone else's review and see what they think and form my opinions in that way.
Yeah. Well, when somebody like Nostalgia Critic or any of the other people over on Channel Awesome review something that I've never heard of, that's very much what happens is I sort of watch it out of curiosity to see, okay, what's this thing that they're reviewing, get an idea of what it's about. And when you leave, you do have sort of a mini opinion about it based on what they said, but you never really know for sure until you watch it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's the funny thing is, some of these movies, I started liking him really early on, and then I started watching his stuff because, I watch reviews for movies I haven't even seen, and kind of.
Well, I mean, he does such a good job of summarizing.
Oh,
the movie.
Definitely, yeah.
Even though I did mean to mention one thing, because it happens, I think, it happens two times in the videos that we ended up picking for this, and he has this tendency every so often to like jump over a plot detail and then actually like kind of strike out against the movie a little bit. Like, you didn't even set that up or explain that at all. With Batman and Robin, he's like, because Mr. Freeze had the cure for his wife all along. Don't know why he didn't use it.
Even though they explain that in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, not to defend Batman and Robin, but they do explain that plot hole in the movie. And there's a similar thing with Moulin Rouge, where it's like the character that apparently only has the one line to the Duke that reveals the affair or whatever. She is shown earlier in the movie to like not care for Nicole Kidman's character. So it's just little stuff like that. It seems like he misses the movie, which is hard to imagine him doing when you consider the fact that like he has to watch these movies. You got to think 2-3 times to write the review, and then like at least 7 times to fucking edit the thing.
Well, what I understand his process to be, actually, is that he and his brother Rob, who also is very funny, will sit down.
Rob, who? Wait a second. Isn't Linkara his brother or something?
No, Linkara is not his brother. His brother's name is Rob Walker. He's we watched the Cat in the Hat review. He was one of the 2 analysts that were like, well, the chart says.
Oh.
That was a good bit.
That was a good bit.
Anyway, he's also excellent in the 3rd anniversary movie, To Boldly Flee. He does this whole parody of the Emperor from Star Wars. But anyway, they will watch the movie or whatever he's going to be reviewing together and just sort of riff on it, and that's where the majority of his jokes come from. And so I can sort of imagine like them watching the movie, and at some point one of them saying, "Did they even set that up earlier?" And then having one of those moments where they both sort of go, "No, I don't think they did. We'll make that a joke." It's not the most intellectual way to go about writing it.
Yeah, just like, but I'm just saying, when you have to go through and edit clips together and stuff, not everything's from the trailer, obviously. So you got to think that he probably watches it at least once or twice, I imagine, just for writing the review, and then he probably has to watch it over and over again when he's cutting it, so it's a little hard to see how he misses some of that stuff.
True. True.
To be fair, it's never, he mostly reviews bad movies that are bad independently of anything he happens to miss. I doubt the Nostalgia Critic has ever missed that one detail that brings the whole movie together and rises it up to, award-level success.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so, Milan, did you want to throw in anything else on the Moulin Rouge review?
I just love how it begins. It's just it's so cinematic. It's really like, oh, I love him. I love this guy. I love this motherfucker. He's amazing.
Yeah, you can really tell he has some kind of background in film school or something, because he just does such a good job with the camera work. Let me rephrase that. He does such a good job with the camera work as best he is able to without a budget, or without a real budget.
Yeah.
I mean, his budget has improved with the newer stuff because they actually have a studio and shit now. But
well, no, it's not just that. But with the Moulin Rouge review, it's a really cool idea for a shot, but it doesn't quite work when he's doing the review must go on, and the camera does the 360 around him. But you can tell it's just someone trying to walk around him really quickly with the camera, so it gets all shaky.
Yeah.
Just little stuff like that. He does the best he can, but it's very cinematic quality work. Awkward silence.
Yeah.
I thought Dylan was going to say something, so I got quiet.
Yeah.
I think I've pretty much said everything to say about Moulin Rouge, except that well, going back to all the cameos that he has in this episode, after discovering the Nostalgia Critic, I of course discovered Channel Awesome, and I watched a bunch of the other people on there, like some of them, disliked others, whatever. But you really get a sense of how far he's come in that episode because of all these cameos that they built this sort of internet community over there, and there's all these running gags. Obviously, there's the one about the Cinema Snob that I mentioned earlier that you guys didn't get because you didn't know that he had made that movie. Another one is when Kyle Calgren, the guy who does Brows Held High, which if you want somebody who does intellectual videos, there's your man. him and another guy whose name I always forget. When he pops up, there's a bit about how he gets angry because they didn't include him in the review, and that goes back to this whole running gag about him always wanting to like sing in videos and nobody ever giving him a chance to. That's like this big running thing. So like there's this whole like continuity type thing that like you see him start to include in his videos at this point. In the career that I think is very important when you look at sort of the progression of sort of, you know, what he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's like it makes me want to go see them, like see some of their other stuff sometimes. But I think I've only done that with 2 or 3 people on that website: Nostalgia Chick, and Todd in the Shadows.
Yeah.
I don't think that I've done it with anyone else.
I've seen Todd in the Shadows. He's pretty good.
Yeah,
I like his stuff, especially when he does a segment sometimes called One Hit Wonderland, where he talks about one hit wonders.
Those are okay, but I like when he just tears into like Lady Gaga songs. I almost want Lady Gaga to release more stuff just so Todd in the Shadows can make fun of it.
There's also
he's like a more intellectual version of Beavis and Butthead.
Kind of.
Yeah, I love him because he's so clever. He's got that whole I love him. He's so funny.
Yeah. I wish he lit his stuff better, but I know that he's doing a silhouette. I mean, I wish he lit his silhouettes better and like put effects on it to make it look like just a flat silhouette as opposed to just badly lit.
I was about to say he is in the shadows, but you've clarified your point now.
Yeah, like he looks, you know, you can see like the outlet on his wall a lot. I'm like, no, come on, dude. It's gonna be so easy. Just put a couple of effects on it, and it'll look amazing. I promise.
He's another one that you definitely get the senses on a shit budget. I mean, they all are, but some of them have better setups than others. Like there's this one guy. What's his name?
I mean, Angry Joe has a pretty fucking good setup.
He's got a good setup. There's a guy called like Nash who I think does like primarily like a podcast type thing, but like he's got like this setup where like he can make things pop up on the screen, and like he does it live too. I don't know how to describe it. He does this like weekly show with this chick called "What the Fuck Is Wrong with You."
I gotcha. But yeah, like you do get a sense of the community in the Moulin Rouge review, which is why I'm glad we got a crossover review on this list as well, because it's just everything is going on in that episode. Oh, one of the other things I really like that I think this episode highlights is he has like a really good tendency to get like a lot of good visual gags in that like aren't even really acknowledged. Like when Brain Floss is teleporting them around to different places. And he goes, "Oh, we're at Disneyland." If you just look at Nostalgia Chick, she's like clapping her hands together. She just gets like this really fucking big smile on her face. It's just really funny to me.
Also, there's a little moment where they pop up in the room and they're behind themselves, and he's like, "Oh, this is 5 minutes ago."
Yeah. Just stuff like that I find really entertaining.
You know, Nostalgia, like, it's so funny because most of these guys are moving on to bigger things. Like you got the Nostalgia Chicks, and even Nostalgia Chick is moving on. You know, they're all moving on to bigger things. Yeah, they're all moving on to something different. They're all moving on to bigger things, and I think that's delightful. Like, they're getting real jobs, and it's sad. Like, you're not going to see the same stuff from them anymore, or at least on a rarer basis. But the fact that they're making it in the actual industry, like that alone, just good for them, you know.
No, what? Like seriously, I haven't heard anything about this. What's she doing?
It's a little bit hush hush, but she's doing something to do with the Pokemon cartoon or whatever.
Cool.
Who, Nostalgia Chick? Well, her and that girl who's in her videos with her, the fat one. I can never remember that name.
I love her. I love her so much. She's great.
Okay, anyway, you were saying, Dylan?
The fat one and the blonde one, that's how I distinguish between them. But
love them both.
They co-wrote like a book. And I think it's in the process.
It's a Lovecraft. Basically, I know that book. it's basically Twilight mixed with H.P. Lovecraft. Instead of Edward being like the vampire, he's a Lovecraftian. He's Cthulhu essentially.
Yeah, the idea was that they got tired of like all these like young adult novels being essentially the same thing, and they said anybody could write one of these, and we're going to prove it. And they turned it into a whole web series where like they went through the process of writing it like week to week, and they even created like a fake author like pen name to publish it under. It's this whole big thing. So that's something that she's done.
Oh, that's cool. All right, but anyway, back to the review, because the review must go on. That's a really fucking good song. I don't care what anyone says. So I think we're all exhausted on Moulin Rouge. Let's go ahead and move on to Secret of Nim 2.
I love that.
So Dylan, why did you want this one on the list?
This one, I love sort of this. There's a specific moment in this one that I love. He has openly admitted before that the original Secret of Nim is one of his favorite movies of all time. I think it was number 1 on like his favorite animated movies list. Mm-hmm. So The Secret of Nim is a big deal for him. And so when I saw that he had done a review of Secret of Nim 2, a movie that I have seen before, that I unfortunately had on VHS as a child, I knew that I was in for him getting angry at something. The interesting thing about the review, though, is he remains pretty calm up until a certain point. There's even a part in the review where he's like, you know what, this isn't really that bad. And then they have the whole reveal about the mouse's brother being the mad scientist. And he just goes batshit insane. Like, you get this feeling that, like, the whole time he was sort of trying to hold back, like the movie was making him mad because of how much he liked the original, but he was trying to, like, you know, be objective and be like, this isn't that bad. And then when that happens, he just loses his shit, and it's great.
Yeah. Like, I was thinking that same thing, because I watched this once, just like when I went through, you know, my big nostalgia critic phase, when I just watched a bunch of his videos back to back. I watched this review and, like, I vaguely remembered it, but I was watching it today, and he goes, you know, so far, as we enter the third act, this doesn't seem that awful. I mean, it's not good, but it's not, like, you know, horrible. It's your average bad sequel. And then the line's like, oh no, he turned all the human scientists into dogs, and he just gets, like, this face, and he puts, like, the fucking SWAT helmet on. And that just goes to what we were talking about, with, like, he's got a really good sense of comedic timing, because it's just worked perfectly.
And you know what I love about him is because he's actually a comedian. He's not like what's his name, Sanders. He makes those, like he's an actual comedian. He's funny. It's a show. He gets it that it's a show. He actually tries. You can tell
that as a child he learned many lessons from the Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry.
Fuck yeah!
Because he has that sort of like timing and physicality in everything that he does. Very high energy type of humor. But yeah, there's just that moment where, you know, he's like, you know, this isn't that bad, and then, like you said, you know, his face just changes.
Yeah, it's so perfect. That's what I really respect about him so much is, you know, I'm hit and miss with when I agree with him or when I think he's actually made a good point, whether or not I agree with the point. But I can never hit him or knock him for his performances. Even in his early stuff, when he wasn't as good of an actor as he is now, he's still really on it, really good at timing, at setting up a gag, at just everything. His writing is fantastic in a comedic sense, and his ability to execute things is perfect as well. Okay, awkward silence. Awesome.
Yeah. Like, this is what I've noticed.
Even before that point, though, he manages to keep the rest of the review entertaining. I mean, there's the whole running gag about, like, how they sort of spoil the fuck out of that kid in that movie, and he makes the Harry Potter connection. There's a line that I thought was in this review, but it wasn't. I guess it was in one of the Nostalgia Chicks reviews where where somebody played a clip of the scene where Hagrid tells Harry that he's a wizard, and, like, they dubbed over and basically had him say, "You're a Jesus, Harry." And, like, it's the same idea.
Like, he has all these lines about, I'm a messiah, and that shit's really fucking funny.
Say what you will about, like, all these art kids, they're fucking funny as hell.
Oh, that's such a good line. You're a Jesus, Harry. I'm gonna remember that. Dude, you don't understand. That just ruined that. Like, I'm actually a fairly good Harry Potter fan, and that kind of ruined that scene for me forever now, because I'm never gonna be able to think of something else.
If you're a Harry Potter fan, go check out Graphic Audio's audio play of X-Men Gifted, The Astonishing X-Men. And it's just like they do the whole thing in the perfect surround sound audio story type of a thing, like a radio show, but awesome. It's like a movie, but no movie. But
okay,
it's
how much money are they paying you to say
Not
this?
at all. I'm serious. If you're a Harry Potter fan, it's Joss Whedon writing the script, and he just fills the first part of the story with as many Harry Potter references as he can. Like, it's Kitty Pryde coming back to the Academy.
I gotta tell you, I listen to a few professional podcasts, and this kind of sounds like when somebody is like doing a paid advertisement, like when fucking like Bill Burr, Bill Burr, the comedian, is in the middle of his podcast, and he's like, go to draftpicks.com. It really sounds like that.
It does, and it almost sounds like Milan's about to go, oh, and if you like sodas, then try some Coca-Cola.
If that was true,
Milan, you sold out. You sold out, bro.
Dude, I would sold out for a hell of a lot more, dude. I'm not. They're not paying me anything. If they were,
no, I know. It was just so random, and it just sounded like a commercial break.
I mean, it's like
dude,
it's like that moment. It's like that moment when you're watching Blade Runner, where it's an amazing movie and you're having this artistic experience, and then suddenly the side of that building just says, "Enjoy Coca-Cola." And I'm like, dude, what? I would like a Coca-Cola.
Well, that's the thing. This is what I don't understand.
Well, actually, instead of Milan ranting about something, let's actually use this for a broader point.
No, this is a broader point. Basically, shut up, Ian, it's about dude. Seriously, no, I will not shut up.
Shut up. I can shut up. I can say shut up faster than you could say anything else. Anyway, so let's actually talk really briefly about some of his newer stuff, which is something I really respect him for. And I think he's like great at, and I wish more people would actually write into professional shows. He times commercial breaks so fucking well.
Yeah, he does.
He writes commercial breaks into the story of his reviews.
Yeah. Can you think of a specific example? Because I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of.
Well, I was watching his Ghostwriter review recently, and he goes, well, we're going to have to go to a break. And they come back from the break, but it makes it look like it's another commercial, and it's for Sam Elliott's mustache, which is like a cleaning rag or whatever. Just shit like that. He just ties it in so well, and he just pulls shit like that in, and it's really fucking funny. So I always really enjoy when he pulls that off, because Bill and I are planning to eventually, whenever I can get a hold of him, do another top 5 list, but it's going to be the bottom 5 cliches. And I seriously actually have my list, because I've been trying to think of it for a long time now. And on my list is when shows fade to black for a commercial and then come back and show the exact same thing for 20 seconds. Because, binge watching Netflix, that's so fucking annoying. But, so commercial breaks are, a big pet peeve of mine. Not just in and of themselves that you're interrupting the show, but that, it's so awkward in the experience of watching the show to, repeat stuff or just deal with the burden of a break where there doesn't need to be one and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, the thing is, with most of this is what I don't understand. See, all these creatives, all these artists that have, they ask for, Patreon accounts and all that shit, and the ads, you can't do this without some kind of, what the fuck is that? Have I transported into a Lovecraftian field? Look, what, I just hear anyone else hear that?
Sound. No, just keep going.
Anyway. But basically, it's just how do you expect for these guys to make any kind of cash on this? They're putting some genuine hours into this content.
Ron, we're not talking about internet reviewers on the whole.
I'm not. I'm talking about the nostalgic critic. I'm talking about the people who say, "Oh, he's sold out, man. He's got ads on his."
I'm not saying he's sold out.
But I know, I understand. But I'm saying that
he integrates commercials into his stuff.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Commercials, that's how he gets paid. That's how he gets his financial stuff. And sure, you might think that's bullshit, but like,
I don't.
But that's how, like, what else are you supposed to do? If you're having fun with this, if you put so much time into it, you might as well try to get some cash from it. I held nothing against them.
Well, that's not what I was saying.
Okay.
You just made that whole point like I was criticizing him for that.
Usually I just make points to people that never ask.
Wow, your mic's really shitty right now. Dylan, you hear that too?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Lon, unplug and replug the mic while you do it so we don't get a bunch of fucking noise.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Wonderful. Sorry about that. Ghosts suck.
Okay, anyway. No, but like, I really respect how he integrates commercials. But let's go ahead and get back to Secretive Nim too, because, oh my god, that is such a fun review to watch. It is the best when you get to see him review just stuff that's painful for him.
Yeah, something that shits on something that he loves previously. It's like the Tom and Jerry review from early on in his career, where he goes on this whole diatribe about how much he loves Tom and Jerry, and then he watches the movie, the Tom and Jerry movie, and there's just that moment when he stands up and gives this like Shakespearean soliloquy of just like mourning Tom and Jerry because of the way the movie has just killed them for him.
It's masterful. It's beautiful, dude.
Yeah, stuff like that's really funny, but just like you can tell when he's dreading something, and that's so entertaining to watch. Like one of his last reviews before like the hiatus, I guess you want to call it, or the before the absence that led to the return, I don't know, was the Scooby-Doo review, and he just has this fucking crazy freak out moment in that, and it is legitimately frightening for a second or two, to the point where you tell, wow, he really didn't want to be doing this anymore. Which makes watching the new stuff kind of awkward, because like I'm not sure if he wants to do it. Like, he made that whole video about coming back and everything, and how he did want to be doing it. He just got burnt out on the Nostalgia Critic, so it was going to be, fewer videos, all that.
Well, I think that's why he made, the changes that he made. It was like he realized that he had to come back because of the damage that leaving had done to his site. But if he was going to come back, he was going to come back on his terms, and he was going to do things to make it fresher and not get burnt out as easily as he had before. Now he does like editorial videos in between the normal Nostalgia Critic stuff, and just all kinds of different things to sort of break up the like monotony of what he had been doing before, all the sketch stuff that we've been talking about.
He's feeling the creator's pinch, You can only do one thing for so long before you gotta shake things up, or at least do something different. And unfortunately, he had to make do with what he got, because he had built up such a figurehead in the internet world that, like, he the thing is, he put his financial independence on it. And like it's just like, once it all came tumbling down, he tried to do something original, but he had to go back. And in the beginning, sure, you did kind of have that bitter, I can't believe I have to do this again. But in his more recent reviews, I see the fun coming back in again. I see the fact, like, you can tell that he's having fun with it again. And but like, regardless, Doug, if you like, I know it's impossible that you would ever hear.
I mean, I'm planning to send him the link just because, but like I say, like you're saying, I doubt he'll watch it.
Yeah, but so, like, Doug, I love you. We respect you. You are an immense creative force, and I love your Nostalgia Critic stuff. I really do, and we all here do. Like, we're fans. But like, you have such grand potential, and if you want, and you feel like it's time for you to move on to Hollywood or something, like some genuine like filmmaking stuff, we will support you, dude. Like, you have the talent to do it. You have, like, you've proven that. You have the genuine talent to go through into the genuine, big people, industry. And like, I wish you nothing but luck,
I agree with you, Milan. I just, as sad as it is, I don't think that's what's going to happen.
What do you think is going to happen? And I don't want
to say, I always get plastered as like the super negative dude, and then like I'm the cynic more than the philosopher most of the time, and I certainly have earned that reputation. But at the same time, he kind of tried to do that by taking the hiatus. And it wasn't intended to be a hiatus. It was intended to be the end of the character. And, you know, I respect him as an artist. I really enjoy the stuff he does. I do eventually plan to watch some demo reel, because that's clearly what he wanted to be doing. And I wish him the best of luck. But I think he's put himself into this really kind of niche area where he can't get out of what he's doing. And that is artistically destructive. Like, he can vary it up and he can change it, but people keep complaining about the small changes that he makes, and I feel like he loses viewers every time he changes something.
Yeah. People don't like when things change. People are just obsessed. People want the same thing over and over and over and over again. And, like, in that way, like, sometimes you gotta move on and find yourself, not a new audience, but at least do something that you want to do. Sometimes if you're an artist and you've garnered yourself an audience, don't allow that audience to control you. If you're an artist, you got to do what you want to do, and you know, you might be the people who surround you that you know start calling your name and actually calling you an artist. And if you try to change things up and they don't like it, well, I don't know, like, there's an obvious, you know, financial risk there. But if what's the point of making art if you don't get some kind of emotional, like, art? If it doesn't make you happy, then don't do it, you know?
The television medium suffers even more from this, because obviously if your ratings dip there, you get pulled. There's nobody to pull you on the internet apart from the YouTube copyright people. So in television, of course, that was always a big problem. Shows would suffer because they would have to break their backs to, like, do interesting stories, but then bring it back to the status quo at the end. They talk about that in an episode of Futurama.
Yeah, comic books, some would say that's any sort of episodic medium. Comic books have been printed for like 70 years, and sometimes you're just going to have the same thing retold 1,000 times. But
which is like, not to get too out of this, but just quick tangent, which is why when people say, oh, Batman should just kill the Joker, I'm just like, come on, no, he can't do that. It's nothing to do with fucking morality or whatever. It's because of the fucking market. If you want Batman to kill the Joker, quit buying books with the Joker in them.
The person who writes the comic book is, of course, a slave to the comic book system, and the comic book system is the closest thing to a deity that Batman has.
Exactly. No, it's just stuff like that. But yeah, I agree. But is there anything else either you wanted to say about Secret of NIMH, Dylan? Like, I don't have too much to say. I agree. It was really well timed review. It's really fun to watch him review things that he hates or that kind of ruin what he liked. That's always really fun, and I feel bad for him. But at the same time, he is a clown. He is a monkey, and he shall dance.
Indeed,
he is a monkey and he shall dance.
And he's delightfully aware of that fact too. You listen to him doing like other shows and like interviews and things, and he's always talking about how, you know, he's basically like he'll openly say, "I'm just a guy who makes a fool of myself on the internet." But yeah, I don't think there's anything really else to be said about the Secret of NIMH 2 review.
Funny story real quick, just because you made me think of it. So, like, you know, he and Linkara and all them go to cons and stuff whenever they can. And so does the Jew, the guy that plays the Nostalgia Critic on this show. And so Chris, the Jew, actually had the opportunity to meet Linkara at a convention. Okay. Chris actually had the opportunity to meet... Hold on, microphone, mute it. He had the opportunity to meet Linkara up at a convention in Chicago. I've said that like 6 times. And I was like, oh, dude, you should have been dressed up like the Nostalgia Critic when you did it. It would have been awesome. I know Doug's over in Chicago. I would fucking love for Chris to go to a convention that Doug's at, dressed as the Nostalgia Critic. That would be fucking hilarious to me.
When I was in Chicago, when I was in
One microphone, dude.
When I was in Chicago over the summer, I kept thinking, I know it's not going to happen, but I would love to just be out and just randomly bump into Doug Walker in person, just to see what he's like, just out on his daily routine, none of the internet bullshit, just to see him as a human being.
Just hey, Nostalgia Critic, I'm just getting milk, man. Just leave me alone.
Do the credit card
Yeah.
God, fucking damn it.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, but every time you come back, there's it's like you're in a fucking storm on the ocean.
That's weird. One second. Sorry.
Anyway, so let's go ahead and move on then to the new stuff, the return stuff. Just real quick, has everyone here seen the video that he made as his reason for returning and everything?
Yeah, I watched that when he released it.
Ditto.
Right before the return. That was in between the last episode of Demo Reel, or no, it might have been before he released the last episode of Demo Reel, because the last episode of Demo Reel pretty much retcons everything that Demo Reel was. It's this whole thing of Demo Reel was just a dream that the Nostalgia Critic was having in between what happened at the end of To Boldly Flee and his return. It's all a big illusion. It's some Matrix Inception shit going on. So I'm not sure which one of those he actually released first, but yeah, I watched it at the time.
Okay. That was a trippy one because it kind of took place on 3 or 4 different fucking levels, and because didn't it mix fiction and reality at certain points?
Oh yeah, he Grant Morrison that shit up, son.
Yeah. He has a conversation with the Nostalgia Critic, which was really fucking cool to see. Shit like that. That was fun. I just wanted to quickly touch upon that. But let's go ahead and talk about some of his new stuff. So do we want to start with Cat in the Hat or with Turbo, a Power Rangers movie?
Let's talk about Cat in the Hat first, I guess.
Okay. There's a reason I picked this, and it is my more I talked about his inability to be objective about Tim Burton's Batman. This is my more problematic thing that I think is a legitimate problem for his newer stuff, and I keep seeing it pop up, and I just wanted to make sure people were aware of it, and it might color your opinion of him. He's certainly always done this, but now I think he's doing it significantly more to the point where it's very problematic. He is really straw-manning any other kind of position that people could have of these movies that he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And not to defend Cat in the Hat, this is just the one where I thought it was most blatant. He also did it a little bit in his Spider-Man, old versus new of Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. And what I mean by that is in the Cat in the Hat review, there's that bit towards the end where, the critics criticizing the quote-unquote soulless character of the guy that makes the Dr. Seuss movies that doesn't exist, and he goes, "You just don't understand the material," and he has the guy go, "Oh, of course I understand the material. They're kids' books. By modernizing the dialogue, we make it more timeless," and he makes all these other points, and the Nostalgia Critic refutes them all, and it's this big speech, and you kind of get on his side. And certainly he's right about all the points he makes, but I don't think anyone is stupid enough to make the points that the other person, that his fictional character made.
Mm. Well, I get the feeling that that's more of a satire based on the real world stupidity that we see reflected in the Hollywood studio system.
Yeah, that's fair, and for that review, I'd certainly be willing to accept that argument. But then there's the I was talking about with the Spider-Man. The old versus new with the Spider-Man movies, because he's talking about the whole scene with Gwen Stacy dying, and comparing it with the scene where Mary Jane is thrown off the Brooklyn Bridge in the original Spider-Man movie, and that's the episode where Hyper Fangirl or whatever name that character was introduced and everything, and it's a fun episode, but he has her make what I feel is just the dumbest, weakest possible counter argument in favor of the Mary Jane death scene. Again, not that or Mary Jane almost dying scene. Not that I like Spider-Man better than Amazing Spider-Man 2 or anything, but he has her say, well, in Spider-Man, that the scene unfolded much more how it should have than in Amazing Spider-Man 2. And she was talking about how one was like, you know, it took place on the Brooklyn Bridge, so it's technically more accurate to the comics, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's okay, but I can't see anyone making that as, you know, their major argument for why it's the better scene or the better version, you know?
I think the problem from a writing standpoint is I think he's not able to sort of put himself in the shoes of the person with the opposite argument and think, you know, what would they say to refute what I'm saying? I don't think he's necessarily all that great at doing that, and so when he comes up with arguments for his fictional characters to spew back at him, it does kind of sound like, as you're saying, it sounds kind of like, I don't know, is contrived the word, or
no, it's a straw man. It's a logical fallacy of a straw man.
Yeah.
Like you build up something that looks like someone's argument, but it's a lot easier to tear down than their actual argument would be.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not hugely problematic because, end of the day, it's his review. He's allowed to make whatever points he wants. But if you're going to address a counter-argument, then you make sure it's a good counter-argument. Because what you do when you set up a counter-argument but make it a weak counter-argument is you actually undercut the validity of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is when you set up like a bad or straw man counter-argument, it just makes your argument sound petty in comparison.
Well, the person who actually has the opposing opinion from you while watching the video can easily tell that you're doing that you're not presenting their opinion in a necessarily like a fair or realistic manner, and so you immediately lose your credibility to them.
Yep.
Because they just call you out immediately, and they're like, you know, it's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, certainly I think you can objectively say that Amazing Spider-Man 2 is probably a better movie than Spider-Man, and you can make a lot of arguments for why the Gwen Stacy Peter Parker relationship is better than the Mary Jane Peter Parker relationship. And he certainly makes really good arguments for that case, but he doesn't give, I feel, a fair shake to the other side. And with the Cat in the Hat review, it's much more blatant because it's obviously, you know, I mean, he shoves a fork up a character's ass at the end of that review. It's much more blatant, but at the same time, I still feel like there could have been a better argument made for why the production companies felt like doing this, as opposed to, well, if you look at the chart.
Ian, I have one question.
What's that?
How do you know it was his ass?
Well, I don't know. I'm assuming maybe it was up his urethra.
Right. We're just talking about hideous things in the most clinical way possible.
Yeah. No, it's just like with the Cat in the Hat review, it's much more blatant because, you know, there's probably less of a good counter argument, but he picks like the worst possible counter argument. Oh, they're just silly kids books.
Well, yeah,
come on, man.
I think he did a much better job of it in the Moulin Rouge video. I think maybe Lindsay and the other guy like co-wrote it with him and actually like genuinely had those opinions about the Moulin Rouge film because I don't feel the same problem there, and I think that's what you should do. You should find somebody who actually does have the opposite opinion of you, and like have a conversation about it and base the dialogue in your sketch or whatever off of that.
Well, have either of you watched After Hours, the big cracked show?
No.
It's like four people in a restaurant and they have like, you know, outrageous arguments and like come up with the most batshit insane scenarios and stuff, like, you know, Tony the Tiger is on steroids, shit like that comes out of those conversations. And what they do to write the scripts for those is they actually start out by having a conversation, and, you know, and it's a much longer conversation, but they record it, and then they whittle it down and refine the arguments and then add more jokes to it or take, you know, the jokes that they make and, like, just bring them to their logical extreme and just whittle it down to, like, a 4 or 5 minute sketch, and it's, you know, very entertaining.
I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds kind of like, to me, it almost sounds like the Madonna conversation from the beginning of Reservoir Dogs turned into...
It is almost exactly...
It is amazing. That show is amazing. And it has this thing that I call the adorable white man. It's like this, this adorable geeky guy that's so nervous, and he's like, "Hey, I like Spider-Man," and I'm like, "I just want to cuddle you, just hug your head and hold it just to my bosom for an incredible amount of time."
Yeah, I definitely recommend After Hours. If you like Nostalgia Critic, you should like that as well.
Oh, yeah.
You should like anything on Cracked, honestly.
Oh, fuck yeah.
You can spend fucking hours on that website. But anyway, so yeah, like certainly there aren't many arguments to be made for the Cat in the Hat, but at the same time, you see where I'm going with it. I feel like he strawmans people a little too much. Otherwise, I really do enjoy that review. One thing that, like, I'm sure we've all had this experience where, you know, he'll play a clip from the movie, and then that clip will do something that makes you laugh, and then it cuts back to him, and he'll just not be laughing. There are a couple scenes like that in The Cat in the Hat, but that's not the one that I remember, like, particularly for doing. The one that I remember it for is the scene in Good Burger, when he did his review of that, and, like, someone yells at Ed, "You better watch your own ass," and Ed just, like, goes, "Okay," and starts, like, spinning around in circles, looking at his butt, trying to, like, you know, get a better view of it. And I watched that scene, and I start laughing, but then it, like, the way he edits it is he just cuts to himself, like, staring completely blank-faced, and that is even funnier, I'll admit, but it makes me feel, like, it makes me feel stupid for laughing at things.
Yeah, it almost makes you feel a little bad for finding the joke funny.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm like, fuck you, dude, that's hilarious. You know, the Cat in the Hat, like, Dakota Fanning be all like, "Oh, that's my mom's dress, you ruined it," and you know, Mike Myers dressed as the Cat in the Hat being like, "Honey, it was ruined when she bought it," and then he did the thing, and it cuts back, and, like, I start laughing at that because that is funny to me, and then it cuts back to him and the little Satan spawn, and they're just, like, blank face. I'm like, oh, come on.
I mean,
come on.
You know why you find that funny, Ian? Is because you hate gay people. Oh my god.
Yep, sure.
I mean,
He admits it.
I mean, I laugh at that scene, not so much out of finding it funny, but out of how just fucking stupid it is.
I mean, it's a little bit of that, but, like, I mean, just the like, it is pretty witty, you gotta admit, in that, like, it would feel better if it was an actual sassy black woman, but at the same time, I laugh.
I mean, I seem to like Mike Myers a little more than Nostalgia Critic seems to. You know, when he has his argument about how Mike Myers might not have been as funny as we all gave him credit for, I'm like, I still find this Austin Powers movie pretty fucking funny.
See, I have this, like, innate desire to go back and watch the Austin Powers movies, because I don't think I've seen them since 2003.
They are okay.
Like, Bill always keeps talking about James Bond, and every time he does, all I want to do is watch Austin Powers.
I mean, the second one's my favorite, and there's good stuff to be found in the other two. But I'm like, I think I might like Mike Myers a little bit more than Nostalgia Critic is giving him credit for. Granted, he does tend to at times take a bit too far. If you want an example of that, just watch The Love Guru, the whole damn movie.
I mean, Love Guru only has one good joke in it, but yeah.
And what joke is that, Ian?
What's the line? If Einstein and Gandhi were in a room talking to each other about the secrets of the universe, and two elephants walked into the room and started having sex, even they would stop to look at it. And then at the end of the movie, he brings two elephants into a room to have sex, and that's funny to me.
That's brilliant.
It's a very good point.
It's the only thing in that movie that you could describe that way, but yeah, it is kind of brilliant. To get off topic for just a second, there was this bit in Saturday Night Live recently where Mike Myers came back and reprised his role as Dr. Evil, sort of scolding North Korea for the whole interview bullshit. Mm-hmm. He's like, if you want to put a bomb in a theater, just do what I did. Release the Love Guru. If you want to, killing a movie is easy. You just move it to January.
Anyway, no, back to the Cat in the Hat though. Like he does make a lot of really good points in that review though. Like his whole point about adapting, you know, drawings to film and how like everything live action with the Dr. Seuss universe looks so fucking creepy.
Oh, I love that fact because there's this artist, well, many artists who take like the childish drawings, you know, those weird little nonsensical monster shapes that kids do, and actually does them in the most realistic, fleshy art style you could possibly comprehend, and they look utterly fucking terrifying.
Well, have you guys ever seen the realistic rendering of Jessica Rabbit?
Oh
no, I don't think so.
It's pretty terrifying.
Okay. No, there's stuff like that he does. The point that he makes about Thing 1 and Thing 2, it's not only that he points out like that the drawings and don't translate to film. He has this really good talent. I think the only person that tops him on it is on this podcast, and his name starts with an M.
Who is he? Tell me. Who is this? I'll kill him.
His name is Milan. You should kill him right now. The only person that has this talent for metaphor is Milan. But, he has that line about Thing 1 and Thing 2 where it's like, they look like the twins from The Shining if Bozo the Clown gave them Jaeger shots. And that shit's just really fucking funny to me, because as soon as he says that, I can just totally picture it.
What would giving children Jaeger shots dressed as a clown accomplish?
Shut up.
I mean, you could be the next contender for being a John Wayne Gacy type and doing that.
Yeah. No, it's shit like that. Just I find really fucking funny. Like, he's really good at metaphors, and he just comes up with it's almost on that Carlin level occasionally, where he talks about the things that should be done to the people that make these movies.
It's like James Rolfe, the Nintendo video game nerd, has that talent for stringing cuss words together in creative ways. That's sort of his verbal talent. That with Doug, it's what you're talking about. It's the metaphor thing. Trying to think of another good example, because there's tons of them.
It's hard to think of the one thing in particular until it just comes naturally. But if you come up with something, feel free to interrupt.
Well, the other thing he does, and I can't believe we haven't mentioned this before, because this is something that people tend to remember from his reviews, is his use of memes. He always knows how to use a clip. Back in the day, he always had that thing when somebody wanted to take over the world of playing the clip from Street Fighter of the guy going, "Of course!"
Yeah, I mean, that was in Batman and Robin.
And then in this episode, he made the cha-ching thing. He made that a thing, where he would just talk about something that was like a cash-in, and then the Cat in the Hat would pop up and say, cha-ching! And then he had the thing where he showed the Dr. Seuss logo and replaced it with the thing from Tom and Jerry, where it's we've got to have money. He's always known how to utilize clips in just the funniest manner possible.
Well, I mean, that's another example of what I was talking about earlier, where he made me feel bad for laughing at something. But the Cat in the Hat plugging Universal Theme Park, I found that really funny. He makes this whole point about how it's it's this awful fucking thing that's just corporate sellout. I'm oh, come on. It's a wink and a nod to the audience. They're having a good joke. Come on.
What made it funnier is after he had berated Cat in the Hat for doing it, if he had then turned around and inserted an advertisement for one of his movies.
See, I almost think that that wasn't in the script originally. I think Mike Myers put it there because it immediately made me think of that scene from Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Where they do the product placement. So, I don't even know, if I can really hate it, because, I mean, it's Mike Myers doing the same joke that was, arguably the best joke in Wayne's World. We're not going to bow down to corporate sellout. Reebok shoes, Reebok jacket, Reebok pants, Reebok hat.
Well, Mike Myers does that sort of self-referential humor thing all the time. That's sort of that's part of his personality. And just everything that he writes. And obviously it's something that Doug doesn't respond to as well as others. But, that's just another opinion. That's just another example of him not doing the best job of making the point that what he's saying is purely his opinion.
Well, the thing is, it really, with any review, regardless of how brow it is, unless it's between two equally easily understandable things like Batman and whatever, it's just if you understand, all reviews are just opinion pieces to me, regardless of how professional they might be. For me, it's a review. It's somebody's opinion. I might agree with it. Yeah.
Some people don't understand that, though. There are people that get fucking offended over this kind of shit.
Well, Dylan, those people are fucking idiots.
They are.
Okay.
They are.
Yeah, it's okay, dude. It's fine. You don't have to weep for the fool. I have wept enough. That was some Shakespearean shit right there. Holy shit.
It really wasn't. I promise.
It really wasn't. It was nothing.
It was far too comprehensible to modern English to be Shakespearean.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
No, but I agree. He does have that point where the line blurs, but at the same time, like, he does make you feel bad for laughing at something. I don't think you should ever feel bad for laughing at a joke. And to be fair, I laugh just as hard at the joke he makes about the joke as I do at what the joke was itself. And there are plenty of times where I didn't find the joke that's led into that setup funny. And I sometimes wonder if he initially laughed at it, but then, like, didn't want to allow himself to laugh at it, you know?
Well, that's the other thing you got to remember is that he is playing a character. He might write something into his review for comedic effect that might not, 100% be how he feels about it in real life. Like everything the Nostalgia Critic says, everything his opinions are is based on what Doug Walker thinks, but highly exaggerated.
I thought of another good metaphor from the Cat in the Hat review for you, Dylan. The Cat in the Hat costume looks like one of those cardboard cutouts that you stick your face in, but with one of the Wayans brothers from White Chick's head in it.
Yeah. Yes. What's the line he has? What's the line he has when the cat is doing that musical number? And he's like, "When did the Chiquita Banana Girl become?" I don't remember what he said after that, but whatever it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I don't even remember either.
Something about being raped by a clown, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing is more cheery than being raped by a clown, I gotta say.
Like, another line from that really got me going was, this movie becomes so much more entertaining if you just think of it as a really wacky episode of How to Catch a Predator.
It's true.
Oh, that was hysterical, dude.
Okay.
Oh, Lord.
But yeah, I really do like the Cat in the Hat review, though. It's really funny because that was the one, like, that was a movie that came out, like, I grew up and I remember seeing The Grinch when I was at an okay age for it, and then Cat in the Hat came out a few years later, and I was just getting too old for that stuff at that point, because I was probably, like, 15 going on 16 when that came out, and that's the point where you stop watching, like, the stuff aimed at kids anymore. And I just remember, like, oh, I'm going to check this out because it's going to be really funny and stuff, and I'm really enjoy it because I like The Grinch. And I just remember being very disappointed by that movie overall. Like, that was a real letdown.
I'm shocked at how adult the movie gets at points, though.
Yeah.
Like, he plays clips, and, like, out of context, it makes it even worse. Like, he'll play... the moment where the cat looks at the piece of gardening equipment and says "dirty hoe," and I'm like, "Whoa, we're in a kids movie."
Oh no, dude! You want to talk about like dirty shit in a kids movie? I just watched Road to El Dorado last night, and there is straight up a scene where two characters are fucking, and like someone walks in on them. I swear to God.
What? Who's fucking?
Yeah,
what?
Like there are two characters in the movie Road to El Dorado where they are straight up having sex, and they're interrupted and have to like quickly, like put on like, oh no, we were doing this thing. Like, it is so like, and there's like a seduction scene. Like, you think the scene in Hercules where Meg's trying to seduce Hercules is bad. No, this is like straight up, oh, I'm massaging you, now I'm going to reach down and grab your ass. It's like, oh my God, this is a really adult scene.
I gotta watch that fucking movie. What the hell?
Road to El Dorado is one of those animated films that I missed growing up, but I might have to go back and check it out now.
Not gonna lie, just gonna say something, the chick in that is actually drawn really fucking sexily.
Yeah, she's a black...
I don't usually find myself attracted to cartoon characters. Like, I'm not one of those guys that, masturbates to Jessica Rabbit. I was damn, that's a sexy cartoon character.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. I agree with that. Like, I don't get that whole jerking off to a cartoon thing that the internet does. But I'm like, I've seen a few pieces of art of that character, and I'm like, baby got back. I'm like,
yeah,
God damn.
Like, actually, brief review of The Road to El Dorado, I guess. I actually really quite enjoyed that movie because they made Cortez a bad guy, so I appreciated that.
Really? They did? How could they? He was such a great guy.
Yeah, I mean, he committed genocide and stuff. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, back to Cat in the Hat. Actually, not really back to Cat in the Hat, besides to say that I wish I like the new girl a lot. She's great, but God, the girl that was like, I didn't even like any of her other characters except for Evelina, and I just wish she'd come back more often. She was just in the Ghost Rider 2 review, and that was fun. But God, I really like when she plays that character. It's so much fun to watch.
She also gives a pretty good performance in the next review that we'll be talking about. But yeah, I really miss her, and I'm like you. I like the new girl. I think the one that really sold me on the new girl was the Wicker Man review.
Mm-hmm.
She's really good in that, but I do miss.
I'm trying to remember, what does she do in that one?
She's like the girl with the blue and white, check game on her face, like you must suffer, shit like that.
Yeah, she basically becomes a parody of the like women's cult from the Wicker Man, and like.
Okay. I don't think I've seen the Wicker Man one. Then I guess I thought I had, but this isn't sounding familiar to me. No, I'm thinking of the Alice in Wonderland. That's why. 'Cause that was her first episode, right?
I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Alice in Wonderland one. No, I do like her. She is quite good, but just God, I love the Evelina character so much, and it's so like she came back for the Ghost Rider review, or Ghost Rider 2 rather. Which, I mean, how could you not do that?
Yeah.
I really liked that character of, like, Satan's daughter, and, like, you hear all this stuff about Satan's child, and you're like, oh my god, it's gonna be, like, a monster or something. It's just, like, this adorable little girl.
But every now and then she does something, and you're like, oh yeah, she is a demon. Like,
yeah, it's just like that, and it cracks me up. And, like, there's that one really great bit in this that actually made me think of, like, hanging out with Haley and I. Because I'll say shit, and she'll just act like really sad. Like there's that line in I don't even remember what triggered it, but like he does something or says something, and she starts to like cry, and she's like, and he just like punches her in the back of the head and says, "Shut up," and she goes, "Okay." Oh, just shit like that I find really fucking funny.
Dude, that is how you should raise your kids. That is how Russian kids are raised, and that's why we're
the saner nation. You turned out just so fucking.
Oh, I stopped making jokes about my childhood. It was great, but
I also love the beat right after the two like studio analysts shoot themselves in the head, where she just chuckles and goes, "That was funny."
Yeah, that was adorable, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And the black guy, I should learn that dude's name, but he plays a really good Satan. I actually really like his performance as Satan.
Dude, I my favorite part from that guy. Essentially, it was during the Shining review, and Doug goes crazy, like he watches the TV movie version of The Shining, and he just goes nuts, and he runs after the black girl and the black guy and the white girl. And through the woods, and basically the black guy falls over and is like, okay, time for my black man survival horror movie kit, and he just paints himself white. It's like, I don't know, like the dog was like, hello, I'm looking for a black man to kill. It's a horror movie, and it's like racial jokes with black people is amazing.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I like his performance as Satan. It's just so suave and debonair. Like, everyone does that now, but it's still just so much fun when he, like, I just love the way he pulls it off, and, like, how he does the voice and everything. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So, is there anything else we want to say about Cat in the Hat?
No, it's a pretty terrifying movie.
Yeah, I agree. Here's another one of his great metaphors. He only has two expressions the whole movie, either pedo smile or holy shit my pants. Anyway, alright, so Power Rangers Turbo. Dylan, why'd you pick this one besides being... Or wait, no, you didn't pick this one. I made us pick this one because of Steve.
Yeah, I originally suggested doing the Jurassic Park review, which is an excellent episode too, by the way. And then you said...
A motherfucking T-Rex, Steve!
I fucking downloaded that song, man.
Me too.
but then you said we should do the Power Rangers review because the guy who was supposed to be here, who's not here, is a Power Rangers fan, apparently.
Yeah, Steve is a big Power Rangers fan. He like tries to make philosophical points about Power Rangers, and I can't take it seriously, because it's fucking Power Rangers. But no, like you did suggest it at first too, though. You were like we were talking ideas about which episodes to do, and you did throw this one out there.
Yeah, I threw out a couple possibilities. it's a good review. I especially love the fucking part where he turns into a Power Ranger.
That's really good because, like, I love. See, he isn't like totally against self-referential humor because he goes, "Time for some pandering." And like, there's a good example of going to commercial break because he goes, "It's time to pander to the fans," and he goes to commercial break and he comes back and he's a Power Ranger, and that's fucking hilarious.
This robot, mega big, something Optimus.
Yeah, right. Like, there's that, and then like the whole fucking dialogue exchange between him and whatever the fuck the hologram head guy's name is. And he's like, "No, it's not how we do things. You must fight him hand to hand. It's not how you do things." And it's like the biggest plot hole in every Power Rangers episode ever.
Why not just jump to the giant robot? It's kind of like that Lord of the Rings argument that everybody makes. You know, you have eagles.
Yeah.
I was recently told, just for the sake of the Lord of the Rings fans that are watching this, I was recently told that the Eagles make a lot more sense in the books than they do in the movies.
Actually,
so
yeah, in the books, the Eagles are all like have their own parliament and shit. Like we will not help you because of political reasons.
Yeah. The movie gives you the idea that Gandalf can just summon the Eagles whenever the fuck he wants. Like, you know, yo Eagles, do my laundry. But it's not that way at all.
Yo, Eagles, do my laundry.
Oh, don't you want us to help you fly your little midget friends to the volcano? No.
No, it's about the journey.
Exactly.
Right now,
billions of lives, like just billions of hundreds of lives. The fate of the world hangs in the balance. Fuck it, they can walk.
Don't you need our help to destroy the ring? Right now, my laundry is much more pressing issue.
Do you know how hard it is to keep a white cloak in this fucking desert, in this fucking wilderness? Come on!
I'm supposed to be Gandalf the White right now, and everybody thinks I'm gray. Okay, you gotta clean this shit.
Oh, that's really good. No, but with the Power Rangers review, he does just such a good job. Yeah, when he turns into a fucking Power Ranger, and like the only thing that I have a problem with when he is a Power Ranger is like the stupidest fucking nitpick in the world, but it's that he uses a visor instead of like finding a way to get a bigger cadet cap.
Yeah.
That was on top of the helmet.
Yeah, I like the fact that he kept having to like hold it up though.
Yeah, like, I was just very disappointed by that. It would have been so much funnier if he'd have actually managed the cadet cap thing.
Yeah, and then after he pulled off the helmet to not be wearing his normal cap, like, somehow it just, like, grew and is on the helmet.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, this whole episode is a little different from his other stuff because the entire episode is a parody of the thing that he's reviewing, which is sort of what we had going on with Moulin Rouge, but it's even more so because you got the actress, you know, doing that Rita impression with his voice badly dubbed over her, and like
that was so funny.
Oh my god, yeah.
And Black Zordon, which was interesting, and just all this stuff that, like, if you're familiar with Power Rangers, it just makes this episode so freaking enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, which is why I picked it, because I know Steve isn't a huge fan of Nostalgia Critic, but I think in order to get into Nostalgia Critic, you have to watch something that he does that's like referential to something you actually enjoy, and it can't just be a complete teardown. There has to be that you know, sweet balance of picking like the bad thing from the series that you enjoy and making fun of it while still being referential to the other stuff about the series or movie.
Yeah, and he does that really well in this episode. This is an episode where he very specifically says, like, look, Power Rangers is not my thing, but in a very respectful manner, he just says, but it's, you know, it's somebody else's thing, you know, it wasn't my generation's, you know, thing. I was too old when it happened. But, you know, if you like it, then fine. You know, this is one time when he actually does get that whole "this is my opinion" point across a little bit more. Although even Power Rangers fans hate the movie he's talking about, so.
That movie is like, that is like the movie my mom bought me when we first came. Oh, that's all I have to say. There is some real tragic, like, it's such a tragic backstory to this movie. And I watch this, I'm like, whoa, I haven't watched it in like decades, man. And it's like, I see the review starting, I'm like
most things in my life, this has a tragic backstory.
Oh, totally. But it's like I see it as like oh, it's that's the Power Rangers. Oh, that's the Power Rangers movie that he's. Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
It was
so funny. Like, I could not believe that someone would be stupid enough to make a Power Rangers movie where you only see the Rangers like twice.
There's hardly any Rangers in it, and the movie just looks so boring because they're just on that boat. And there's that great bit he does where like they do a parody of the Power Rangers theme song, and it's like those get new powers just so they can float on this slow ass boat, Rangers.
Like, why aren't they on a speedboat? And, like, there's just, like, little bits like that, like, when he made fun of the set design when they're on the docks. It's like, that's a pretty suspicious fucking skeleton, but oh well, we'll go do something else.
And then you don't even, and then it turns out that they don't even need the boats, because it turns out that the vehicles, the turbo vehicles, the Turbozords, I should say, can float. Cut back to that old It joke. Oh yes, Georgie, they float.
That was a just quick reference back to Moulin Rouge. That was a point I really liked when he was showing like how you could just cut anything in because the editing was so sporadic, and he just puts like all these fucking clips from these movies he constantly references, including that one scene from It where it just looks like Tim Curry's just doing whatever the fuck he felt like.
The It review is another great episode that we could have done.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a great example. This episode is of his ability to parody something. It goes back to what we've been talking about his incredible sense of how to do comedy well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's something I really love about it. And like I was a Power Rangers fan when I was a kid, but I didn't keep it at all. Like I'm not like modern adult Power Rangers fans where I just I went back to it as an adult. I never plan on going back to it because I never thought it was that good. Like when I was a kid, I liked it.
Me
but
neither. But it was fun.
It.
I'm sort of a casual Power Rangers fan. See, Bill is kind of a diehard Power Rangers fan, especially right now.
I know.
He's going through a major Power Rangers phase at the moment, by the way, coincidentally. But I was sort of
like Steve just finished watching every series of Power Rangers and giving his general analysis of them.
It's like
Like, no, wait. Just in case he's listening to this, Steve pisses me off because he will say things like I've talked about how my favorite version of Dracula was the guy in Van Helsing, and he goes, "Oh, you mean the Power Rangers villain?" I'm like, "Fuck you, Steve. You don't get to use Power Rangers to make intelligent points, and then turn around and get to use Power Rangers to make fun of stuff."
Yeah, I'm like,
the thing about Power Rangers is I sort of like kept coming, like I would watch a season and then leave for a few seasons. Like I've seen bits and pieces of it here or there. It was always a more casual thing. And when it comes to Power Rangers, it's one of those things that I just sort of take or leave. I like what I like, and I dislike pretty much most of the rest of it. I do love Linkara's History of Power Rangers series, though. If you
Juan doesn't like Linkara.
This is interesting to me. Why doesn't he like Linkara? Who has a
because he reviewed some comic book.
No,
he reviewed Savage Dragon poorly.
No, not real. There isn't really any specific reason. It's just he grains on me like that really metal sponge thing that you use to clean the shit off your dishes. Well, he's like
Steel.
that. Yeah, still.
No,
he's like.
I actually have sponges made of sponge, so.
Oh well, he's a steel. He's like a. He's a being of steel wool surrounding my soul, slowly carving little bits of flesh from it. Like he's just like.
At one point in my childhood, my mother was painting a wall in the house, and she got a little bit of paint on her glasses, and so she reached for a piece of steel wool to clean her glasses, and that was a horrible idea, because not only did it smear the paint around terribly, but also just scratched the fuck out of her glasses, thus getting paint inside of the cracks in her glasses that she made. So, fun little anecdote about my mother.
Yeah, and it's just Linkara is just kind of... he's a person.
I love his cameo at the end of the Power Rangers episode.
I don't
yeah,
know, like
I forgot he has he has that cameo, and he's known for doing this History of Power Rangers thing. Which, by the way, if you want to get an idea of how bad a season of Power Rangers is without having to watch the whole thing, or be surprised by how good some of them might actually be, it's a great series to watch for that. And so they bring him in because he's sort of the resident Power Rangers expert at the end to defeat the monster, and it was a really clever idea.
Yeah, it's just
make a lot of stupid fucking points.
Yeah. It's
like how bad must the economy in Angel Grove be to have a fucking abandoned warehouse district?
When Rita throws her staff down to earth, how does she get it back up? Does she have a line, and she just reels it back up? And I'm sitting there thinking,
or does she just magic it back up?
I'm like, she's magic, dude.
It's just it's the pedantic nerd. It's just he I don't know, Linkara's has this weird space for me. He's not quite right. He's not quite he's too right and too left, and he's just I don't know. I like humans. I like the worst of people. I still like Linkara as well, but I like him, but just because I don't know him. But I'm as a human, he just grinds on me. He's just he asks for money. He actually supports himself on this. He's hey, don't turn off ad block. I have no other job. Please, fucking just support me. And I'm
I mean, they all do that. They just might not come.
Yeah. But it's just that.
Milan, you've been making the whole fucking point this entire episode about how this is how they go out and do it. And
I know.
This whole video has been. I think it's so great that people can create their own content and sustain themselves on the internet. Now you're this fucking guy asking for money.
I know. For some reason, that's the weirdest thing about humans. They completely agree with one thing, but when a person comes along that portrays that message, and that person and the messenger is a person that we don't like, that message alone is tarnished in a bad light, just because the messenger was a cunt. And
fair enough.
But I don't know. I don't like Linkara. I don't know why. He seems like a nice enough guy, but as a character,
that's
I don't
okay.
like him.
You don't have to. No one's making you like Linkara.
Oh, thank God.
Anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed the Power Rangers episode because it's just really fucking funny, and it not only does he highlight all the things that Power Rangers fans like about Power Rangers, but he also points out all the stuff that people don't like about Power Rangers. All this, I always have people telling me, "Oh, you should watch Power Rangers because it's all this interesting stuff in it." But he points out a lot of the really silly, stupid stuff that's still really silly and stupid, and it's. That's really fun to watch. Someone play both sides of it like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that this is essentially kids' fare. This is meant for babies in Japan, but for college students in America, it's seen as high art. Asians are superior to white people. Hooray!
Well. In many cases, the original Japanese versions of these shows are superior, but that's an entirely different conversation to be had. One interesting thing about this video is the giant robot that he summons is a mixture of Optimus Prime and a robot from an anime that I like called the Big O. And I'm thinking,
Oh no, I know the Big O. Yeah, I noticed that too.
And I'm thinking, does Doug know about the Big O? He doesn't strike me as an anime knowing kind of guy. Unless somebody else just designed that for him and threw that in there.
The Big O.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird that he didn't build a nostalgic Critic robot or something. I feel like someone else just had a giant robot costume sitting around.
Yeah.
And they just threw an Optimus Prime hat on top of it or something.
I love the fact that they are humans out there, geeks, who have giant robot costumes in their closet. This is why I love geeks. Motherfuckers got robot costumes. Holy shit.
I mean, I know a guy who has a homemade Godzilla suit, but anyway.
Really? Can I get his number?
I don't have his number. When I say I know a guy, I mean I'm Facebook friends with a guy. But
No. Seriously, since Bill's probably not watching this episode, what I want to do is just get someone with a homemade Godzilla suit to film themselves doing a sexy dance and send it to me. And then I'm going to send it to Bill as a birthday card, an e-card or something. And just tell him to film his reaction when he opens the email or whatever. I would really like that at some point.
It's a beautiful morning.
She's like, no. Happy birthday, Mr. Sazubar. Just have like a Godzilla suit doing a guy in a Godzilla suit doing like a sexy dance.
And then he pulls out,
funny as shit.
dude, and then he pulls out a rubber like lizard glove and just starts whacking it to it.
Yeah, clearly.
Warren Ellis reference. Well, crooked little vein. Crooked little vein.
But to go back to the nostalgia critic, I mean, yeah, he clearly didn't expend the energy or the budget to like design his own robot. I mean, as cool as it would have been to see the fucking like nostalgia Megazord or whatever, I enjoy the strange mixture of robots that we got instead, and it kind of makes sense because it's a bunch of like nostalgic things blended together. Even though those things is kind of obscure, and I'm surprised it was included.
Mm-hmm. No, that was fine. I just would have been impressed if he'd gone that far.
It reminds me of like the style of humor that he must have employed when he created the character of Santa Christ.
Santa Christ, we all love Santa Christ.
Oh, I love Santa. It's just when he did the whole the Son of the Mask review, like, is it secret? Is it safe? And he said, "Yes, scandal." Yeah. That's funny.
The Santa Christ character was also in the review he did of Devil, that M. Night Shyamalan movie in the elevator.
Dude, shut. Super Mecha Death Christ versus Santa Christ.
I mean, that's a fight I want to see. Death Battle should be on that shit.
Now, what were we going to say about the Devil review?
Oh, no, just the fact that Santa Christ also popped up in that episode, and I don't remember much about that episode, which is strange, because it's one of the more recent ones that I saw. I need to rewatch it, actually.
That one's really funny, I remember. I just remember, like, Santa Christ makes a really fucking dark joke at one point.
and
something about abortions, I think.
Yeah,
and
probably.
And, of course, the one dude is in it playing the devil again, and I think isn't Evelina in it at some point?
No, what's her name from this was in it. The Power Rangers villain was in it.
Oh yeah, Rita was in it.
Yeah, that's her name.
I remember that now.
Rita was in it. Yeah. See, Rita, you got a part in this movie. It was a 1-minute cameo where I was sleeping with Lord Zed.
You really want to...
The mental image of me and Lord Zed doing it. I love the fact that for her like staff, they didn't even try to make like a fake staff. They just gave her a broom. One of those big ass like push brooms.
Well, like there was that, and then there was the joke about all of our budget went into like some bullshit and this girl's cleavage. And they're like, it's like, well, shouldn't you have spent the money more wisely? Have you looked at the cleavage? Look at the cleavage again. Okay, it's pretty nice. Yeah, see? It's like the whole fucking argument.
I love that movie, though.
I wonder if anyone from Power Rangers is actually acting again.
Like, actually, the actual Ranger, one of the Rangers, you know that show, Bat in the Sun?
Yeah, I know the guy that played the Green Ranger is doing that show on Bat in the Sun's channel. And, like, I'm not sure if that's awesome for the fans or just kind of sad for the actor that, 20 years after Power Rangers, he can't get any other job besides playing a Power Ranger.
Actually, I think you're referring to Jason David Frank. He's always got stuff going on. I don't really know what he's doing at the moment. He wanted to, like, make a Green Ranger movie, and I think they shot that down. They are making an adaptation of Power Rangers, though, like a big budget movie.
Okay. No, I mean, it's whatever. The guy's, if he's happy doing that, that's fine. But I mean, 20 years later, and you can't get another job outside Power Rangers, really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where his entire like fandom is. Like nobody else knows who he is other than Power Rangers people. So it's like,
Well, I mean, if you're an actor,
yeah.
It's like sad. It's like Johnny Cage from the first Mortal Kombat movie.
I don't think anybody in any of the Power Ranger seasons though is particularly well remembered for acting though.
Yeah, true. Okay. Is there anything else to say about the review though?
Fuck, nearly 3 hours, dude. Holy shit.
Well, like we didn't start the episode till like half an hour in.
We were talking about 6 videos, so.
Yeah. I had a feeling this would be a longer one. But yeah, like I don't have much else to say about the Power Rangers. All my points for the new era of the Nostalgia Critic were made in the Cat in the Hat section.
Yeah.
I like him. Like, everything that I said before still stands. Like, I think he's a great guy, but I wish him luck further in his career.
Yeah, I mean, I wish him the best of luck. I just think he's built himself into a niche, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get out of it.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but, you know, if he's making money and you know, doing well, then there are worse things.
I guess so, but, you know, whatever.
Was it Boris Karloff who once said the greatest thing an actor can accomplish is to be typecast because it means he'll always have work?
Yeah, I guess. All right. Any last thoughts on the Nostalgia Critic himself, or is everyone good to go?
I think we've all said our piece personally.
Okay, let's go ahead and do a quick rating of the Nostalgia Critic, and then we'll wrap up here.
What, the Nostalgia Critic of, like, the person? Like, we're gonna rate you as a human being.
We're gonna rate the character.
Oh, okay.
The character, and you can use whatever criteria you want on a 5 scale. All right, so I'm going to... Dylan, you know how we rate things on the show, correct?
I think so. Refresh me.
Just Milan and I'll go first, then you can pick it up from there, okay?
All right.
Just pick a noun on a 5 scale.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to give the Nostalgia Critic 3.5 out of 5 bat credit cards.
I'm gonna give the Nostalgia Critic 5 out of 5 burgeoning potential.
Okay. Dylan, have you got an idea yet?
I guess 4 rabbit boobies out of 5.
Yeah.
Funny
enough, rabbits have 4 boobs, or is it 8? I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, it is bunny boobies. I forgot. Alliteration is our friend.
Okay, everyone. Milan, what are we talking about next week?
Is it a review or a what?
It's an idea topic.
An idea. Getting... How about we just go on from there? Like, what the idea of e-fame.
Okay. Yeah, I figured you should pick that because you kept trying to steer the topic.
Are you going to have anything to say in that video, having already said it all tonight?
I'm worried about that, but Steve will be there. We'll make it work.
Yep.
Okay, everyone. Hopefully, like, if this video is posted on my other channel, hopefully we'll be back on the Sid Part 2 channel soon. YouTube doesn't understand how to run a goddamn website that, like, you know, supports the people that make the website work. Not surprising. If you've ever, you know, witnessed a YouTube update, you understand this, so I hope you all bear with us and understand fully. In any case, until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I'm the Madman.
And I'm just a guest.
Exactly. There we go. The first person to ever say it. And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing
Stick my brain in your dick!